I'd just broken through to 9-star, chilling in my bathrobe like a god who just clocked out of a shift, when old Sheen came barreling up to the 16th floor like his pants were on fire. See, my breakthrough released this absolutely ridiculous pressure wave, the kind that makes the air itself want to kneel. And old Sheen, being the veteran 9-star grandmaster that he is, felt every bit of it from downstairs. His ancient heart nearly yeeted itself out of his chest. The elevator doors opened, and I could practically hear him winding up to scream my name. But then, and I watched this happen through the door, the old man stopped himself, straightened his robes, took a dignified breath. Gotta maintain that elder statesman energy in front of the youth, right? He was about to call me to open the door, but I beat him to it. Swung that thing open before he even touched his phone. Stood there in my loose bathrobe, looking all mysterious and deep. "Oh, you're here already? Come in." The look on his face? Priceless. His eyes went wide like saucers. His protective chi literally activated on its own, his body's automatic defense going. Danger, danger, just from standing near me. I'm 20 years old, and this legendary Grandmaster's body is treating me like a natural disaster. You're really 9-star. I gave him a casual nod. Just broke through. Sorry if the shockwave was a bit much. Didn't scare you, did I? Scare me? You nearly gave me a heart attack. His beard was literally trembling. The man was vibrating. It's been half a day. Day. You went from 8-star to 9-star in half a day? You think this is drinking water? He grabbed my wrist to check my energy, and the moment his fingers touched my pulse point, boom. My chi slapped back into him, so hard his fingers went numb. Blazing hot, dense as a dragon, absolutely overflowing with vitality. Not just 9-star. 9-star with foundations so solid they'd make a mountain jealous. Old Sheen collapsed onto my couch, staring at the ceiling like a man who just watched physics break. Monster. You're an absolute monster. Did you eat some kind of immortality pill? I poured him a glass of water and put on my most sincere face. No pills, Grandmaster Sheen. Just hard work, diligence, sweat. Every drop of my success was earned through sheer effort. He squinted at me. Those 3 words, hard work, diligence, sweat, did not match my vibe, and he knew it. I let out a heavy sigh, wearing my best, I sacrificed so much, expression. You see, I've been pouring my heart and soul into helping the women around me break through their bottlenecks. Coaching them, guiding them, absolutely exhausting myself in the process. And today, while I was coaching, Shinru Shuang, one thing led to another. Quantity became quality, and we both broke through together. Old Sheen's face went through about 17 emotions in 2 seconds. Then it clicked. Wait, Shinru Shuang hit 7-star too. Yep, I spread my hands. So like I said, hard work, dedication, and every single drop of my sweat. Was I wrong? He opened his mouth to yell at me, then closed it. Opened it again. Closed it. Because what could he even say? My completely unhinged cultivation method just produced another 7-star grandmaster. Su Chingo went from 1-star nobody to awakening spiritual power. Shinru Shuang just hit 7-star. And I catapulted to 9-star. All through the power of dedicated personal coaching. Fine. You win. He gave me a reluctant thumbs up, his voice dripping with a cocktail of admiration, confusion, and existential crisis. I don't understand your Tao, and I sure as hell can't copy it. But 9-star is 9-star. That's incredible. Then, and I could literally see the gears turning behind those old eyes. Old Sheen started scheming. He was sitting on my couch, looking at me, then looking at the hallway where 3 women already lived, then looking back at me. I know exactly what he was thinking. The Provincial Martial Arts Association has stockpiled plenty of elite 6-star peak female warriors over the years. Dozens of them, stuck at their bottleneck for 10, 20 years, watching their chi slowly decline, knowing they'll probably die without ever touching 7-star. And now old Sheen was sitting there wondering, what if I just sent a few of them over? He was literally calculating logistics. These women maintain themselves so well they look 30 even at 50-something. And in his mind, they'd probably prefer a young, vitality-overflowing genius like me over whatever dignity they're currently clinging to. I could see him mentally drafting a roster. Then he glanced at the hallway again. 3 women already in residence, and I watched a flicker of doubt cross his face. Can this kid even handle more? Old man, Please stop planning my schedule. I just broke through to 9-star. Let me enjoy my bathrobe for 5 minutes. Old Sheen stroked his chin and basically decided to shelve his operation. Send Chin Yi more women. Plan until after the Imperial Inspector lady leaves. Smart move, honestly. Even I have scheduling limits. Probably. But here's the thing. He wasn't even worried about Inspector Sun Wan Yu anymore. His logic was beautiful in its simplicity. 9-star Grandmaster plus SSS rank spiritual power equals. Literally nobody on the entire planet gets to have an opinion about this kid's lifestyle choices. If she tried to give me grief over my personal life, Old Sheen said he'd throw hands himself. And now that I'm also 9-star, nobody's handling me. You don't handle a walking natural disaster. You politely ask it to sit down and offer it tea. Then the training room door opened, and out came Lung Yu and Su Qingge. They took one look at me and froze solid. Lung Yu, 7-star Grandmaster, certified badass, my wife, stood there feeling like an ant next to me. My 9-star aura was just casually leaking everywhere, because honestly I hadn't figured out how to turn it off yet. Her eyes went wide and her voice cracked. Chen Yi, you broke through again? Qingge was just standing there with her hand over her mouth like she'd witnessed a magic trick. I gave them my best, heh grin. Then the bedroom door opened and Shun Rushuang walked out in a fitted black combat suit, radiating that fresh 7-star Grandmaster energy. Even trying to hold it back, she was glowing with power like a light bulb that just got upgraded. Lung Yu's eye twitched. She sensed it immediately. Her rival had caught up. Same rank now. 7-star to 7-star. I could practically hear the internal monologue. So what if she's 7-star too? I got there first. Meanwhile, Qingge was looking at both of them with pure, desperate envy. 2 Grandmasters, and she's still stuck at the bottom. I could see the gears spinning. I've been slacking. Unacceptable. Must train harder. Must demand more coaching sessions. Old Qin congratulated Shen Rushuang with genuine warmth. 3 Grandmasters born in Linjiang City in 1 week. Historic. Rushuang bowed politely and mumbled something about mutual support while sneaking a shy glance at me. Yeah, mutual support. That's what we're calling it. Then Old Qin got serious and said her breakthrough registration should be delayed. And I, being me, immediately asked the most Chunyi question possible. Why wait? If we register now, she gets her stipend and resources faster. All 3 women shot me identical, shut up, glares. Even Qingge and Lung Yu agreed on something for once, that I should stop talking. Old Qin sighed and dropped the bomb. The Snow Mountain Forbidden Zone. Something terrible has happened. My eyebrows went up. That's one of the most critical defense points in the entire southern region. A terrifying anomaly erupted. Bizarre fog covering a 100-mile radius. The 3 Grandmasters stationed there have gone completely dark. No contact, status unknown. His voice was heavy as iron. Based on the last blurry footage from the outpost, it appears a new heavenly gate has opened deep inside the Forbidden Zone. The temperature in the room dropped about 15 degrees. All 3 women went white as paper. The National Martial Arts Association has issued an emergency mobilization order. Every 7- and 8-star Grandmaster in the province is being deployed to suppress the situation. Except old bones like me who need to hold down the capital. Then he looked at Shun Rushuang with meaning. You've all just broken through. Your foundations aren't stable yet. I don't think there's any rush for you two. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The old man was shielding us. I dropped the comedy act and gave him a proper, respectful bow. Thank you, Grandmaster Qin. I won't forget this. He waved it off with a tired smile. Call it selfishness. You're all the future of China. I'd rather not gamble that on a crisis we don't understand yet. Meanwhile, in Beijiang City, our good friend Grandmaster Yao was standing at his window like a discount villain in a movie trailer. His dark gold chi was flickering around him, and he was staring at the same mobilization order on his screen. Was he going to the Snow Mountain Forbidden Zone to help defend humanity? Of course not. Snow Mountain, a new heavenly gate. He practically licked his lips. Behind him, Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost stood in the darkness like the world's most menacing coat rack. Master, the time has come. Shadow Ghost rasped, sounding way too excited. Yes, it has. Yao Guangyuan took a deep breath, feeling that violent 8-star power churning inside him, and sneered. Qin Shan, that old fool. And Qin Yi, that so-called genius. A 6-star peak genius, heh. He turned around, eyes blazing dark gold. Pack up. We move out. Yeah, so this guy still thinks I'm 6-star. Buddy, you are in for the surprise of several lifetimes. Now, while I was enjoying my post-breakthrough bathrobe lifestyle, let me tell you what our favorite discount supervillain Yao Guangyuan was cooking up. And by cooking, I mean he was literally seasoning human beings like bait. Back at his fancy estate in Beijiang City, Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost had rounded up two poor idiots, 6-star peak warriors who'd been stuck at their ceiling for years. These guys had murder rap sheets longer than my list of wives, and they'd already sold their souls to the Beastgate cult because apparently that's a thing you can do. Golden Lion cracked open this fancy temperature-controlled metal briefcase like he was in a spy movie. Inside, nestled on velvet padding like they were fine wine, sat 2 vials of liquid glowing purple gold. The stuff smelled like it could wake up every primal instinct in your body. Gentlemen, this is heavenly gate source fluid. You know how Grandmaster Yao suddenly jumped to 8-star? This is the stuff. The 2 idiots' eyes practically popped out of their skulls. Their Adam's apples were bobbing like fishing floats in a tsunami. Is this really for us? Of course. Grandmaster Yao needs capable lieutenants for his big move to the provincial capital. Drink this, and you'll smash through to 7-star instantly. What Golden Lion conveniently forgot to mention was the fine print. You know, the part where this liquid was actually called Purple Flame Primer, and it was designed to turn them into walking, screaming, irresistible beast bait. Basically human chum. But these 2 were too blinded by ambition to read the terms and conditions. Thank you, emissary. Thank you, Grandmaster Wyo. They grabbed those vials and chugged them like frat boys at a keg party. Immediately their faces turned beet red, veins popping out of their necks like worms, a purple glow flickering deep in their pupils. They were screaming and howling while their insides got remodeled by what they thought was premium cultivation juice. Hold it in. This is the medicine reshaping your meridians. Keep your mind steady or you'll die. They survived the initial reaction, panting and sweating, but genuinely feeling this massive beast of power coiled up inside them. They were thrilled. I can feel it. The barrier is loosening. This is incredible. Is this what becoming a Grandmaster feels like? Behind their backs, Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost exchanged a look dripping with cruel amusement. What these morons were feeling wasn't a breakthrough. It was their life force being burned as fuel to transform them into the most delicious-smelling snack in existence for high-level beasts. They loaded the 2 future Grandmasters into a modified SUV and peeled out into the night, heading toward the provincial capital. Toward me. Up in his tower, Yao Guangyuan watched them leave with the coldest smile I've ever had the displeasure of hearing about. Go. Bring that disaster to Qinshan. Bring it to Chunyi. Then the psychopath actually switched his expression to something noble and compassionate, like he was practicing his concerned citizen face in a mirror, and sighed about how the rebuilding of Jinshan City was at a critical stage. This man is unhinged. 2 hours later, things were going exactly according to his evil plan. The 2 sacrifices in the back seat were turning purple-red, burning up like human furnaces, growling involuntarily, their energy leaking everywhere in wild, uncontrollable waves. Shadow Ghost popped the sunroof open. That smell, that purple flame primer-enhanced, life force-burning aroma, shot up into the night sky and spread across the wasteland like the world's worst perfume commercial. To humans it smelled vaguely sweet and metallic. To beasts, imagine dropping a gallon of concentrated blood into a pool of starving sharks. Then multiply that by 10,000. Hundreds of miles away, deep in the forbidden wasteland where purple toxic fog chokes everything, something woke up on top of a cliff. A creature the size of a Boeing 747, covered head to tail in metallic purple feathers crackling with lightning. An 8-star peak beast emperor, the purple flame thunder eagle. Its eyes snapped open. Those vertical purple pupils locked onto the distant scent like a targeting system. That smell, that same origin, ultra pure, eat this and evolve to 9-star, smell. And there were 2 sources. The screech it let out could crack mountains and shatter clouds. Every low-level beast within 100 miles woke up and immediately flattened itself on the ground in terror. Then a second purple flame thunder eagle appeared. Even bigger. 9-star. This was a summoning call. The ground started shaking. Thousands, no, hundreds of thousands, of glowing red eyes lit up in the darkness. Iron-armored rhinos, blood-crazed wolves, shadow leopards. A black flood of monsters surging forward, driven by their emperor's will, all stampeding toward the source of that delicious, delicious smell, which, if you follow the trajectory, was heading straight for the provincial capital. Straight for MY building. A beast tide. Again. And I was still in my bathrobe. So there I was. I was lounging on old Sheen's fancy leather couch in his office like I owned the place, chugging spirit tea that costs more than most people's houses like it was tap water. Hey old Sheen, quick question. When your gene development hits 100%, that's war god level, right? He froze mid-sip and gave me this look like I'd just asked what color the sky is. Did you not learn this in school? I shrugged with my best innocent face. Come on, you know my situation. My power level updates faster than my knowledge base. The textbooks can't keep up with me. You better explain it now, because what if I accidentally hit 100% tomorrow and mess it up? That's on you. You little. He was choking on his own words. You think reaching 100% is eating cabbage? Countless once-in-a-generation geniuses get stuck at 99% for their entire lives, and you're talking about accidentally. He was winding up for a really good rant. Then my system decided this was the perfect dramatic moment to interrupt. Boom. A wave of terrifying pressure exploded out of me with zero warning. The bulletproof windows started creaking. The tea in our cups went full tsunami mode. The air itself felt like it got vacuum sealed. Inside my head, the system was chiming like a happy little doorbell. Ding. Partner Su Chinga detected training diligently and breaking through her bottleneck. 10x feedback triggered. Congratulations, host. Gene development, 5%. Current gene development, 95%. My blood was thundering through my body like ancient war drums being played by angry dinosaurs. Old Sheen's teacup lid slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. He didn't even notice. The man was completely frozen, eyes bulging, mouth hanging open, brain buffering. He could feel it. My life force just jumped again, right in front of him, while drinking tea. 95%. 9-star peak. He shot to his feet so fast his chair almost flipped. His throat was making this weird hissing noise like a deflating balloon because his vocal cords had apparently stopped cooperating with his brain. And here's the fun part. His 9-star Grandmaster instincts were screaming at him that the 20-year-old kid sitting across from him had just surpassed him in pure physical power. Not counting my SSS rank spiritual abilities. Not counting my perfected Azure Dragon Spear technique. Just raw body versus raw body, and I'd win. How? How is this possible? The old man was mumbling to himself. I could literally see his entire lifetime of martial arts understanding getting dragged into an alley and beaten up by reality. Half a day ago, just broke through to 9-star. 1 cup of tea later, 9-star peak. I casually waved my hand and squashed the rampaging spiritual energy back down like swatting a fly, then flashed him my best grin. See, old Sheen? Told you I wasn't lying. Just had a little epiphany while we were chatting. Whoops. Anyway, quick, tell me what happens after 100%. I need to plan ahead here. His eye was twitching so hard I thought it might detach. He sat back down like a man who'd just run a marathon in his soul, let out the longest, most exhausted sigh I've ever heard, and smiled bitterly. I surrender. I completely surrender. The new generation has truly arrived. These old bones should just retire. Then he got serious. Like, actually serious for once. Fine. Since you're already at this level, I'll tell you what comes next. 100% gene development is the war god threshold. But it's just the entry ticket. To truly become a war god, you need something called source essence transformation. 9-star masters. Cultivate chi. War gods refine source. When your genes hit 100%, your blood, bones, and meridians reach an incredibly unstable critical point. If you can channel stellar energy or higher-grade resources to completely purify your mortal body and condense a war god source core, that is what makes you a true immortal war god. His eyes were practically glowing with longing and hope. A war god can take a shot straight through the skull and regenerate instantly, as long as the source core survives. That's a life form that has truly transcended mortality. I was sitting up straight for once, actually paying attention. This was the good stuff. Then, because the universe has a personal grudge against old Sheen's blood pressure, his terminal started buzzing like an angry hornet. He looked down. Inspector, Sun Wanyu, deep breath. Compose yourself. Your worldview just got shattered 14 times today, but you're still the provincial chairman. Act like it. He answered. A holographic projection bloomed in the office, and there she was. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. She looked maybe early 30s, porcelain skin, elegant as an ice lotus blooming on a glacier. But those frost-cold eyes carried the weight of decades of authority and power compressed into a gaze that could freeze lava. Sun Wanyu, National Martial Arts Association Inspector, 9-star Grandmaster. And, plot twist, an SSS-rank Spiritual Master, same tier as yours truly. Well. This just got interesting. Qin Shan, Sun Wanyu's voice came through the hologram like a winter breeze that hates you personally. I'll be at the rooftop helipad in 10 minutes. Don't waste my time. Bring the kid called Chun-Yi directly to me. Pause. The Snow Mountain situation is getting worse. I'll inspect your so-called genius and leave immediately for the front lines. I won't be staying long. Click. Gone. Hologram dissolved. The office still felt 3 degrees colder. Old Sheen turned to me with a face that said, "Please behave yourself for once in your life." You heard her. Inspector Sun's reputation for being direct is legendary in the community. He pointed at the ceiling. Let's go. I stood up, dusted off my clothes, and tucked all that raging 9-star peak energy back inside my body like stuffing a hurricane into a suitcase. From the outside, I looked like a regular chill young guy with deep eyes and a calm vibe. Just a hint of purple shimmer in my gaze if you looked really closely. A 9-star spiritual master? Huh. I wasn't nervous. Not even a little bit. In fact, something inside me was getting excited. Let's go, old Sheen. I've been dying to see what China's top female grandmaster is all about. 5 minutes later, we were standing on the rooftop helipad, wind howling my hands behind my back, staring at the sky like I was posing for an album cover. Then, boom, a streak of silver-white light ripped through the clouds at basically teleportation speed. The Aurora, an Inspector-class combat jet, hovered 100 meters above us. The hatch slid open, and she just stepped out. No parachute, no jetpack, no nothing. Just casually hopped out of a jet 100 meters up and floated down like a leaf in autumn. White-fitted combat suit, pale blue cape billowing behind her, landing on the metal platform without raising a single speck of dust. Like a crane descending from heaven. If that crane could also kill you with her brain. Her ice blade eyes locked onto me instantly. And then, I saw it. That flawless, untouchable face cracked. Just for a second. Surprise. Confusion. Because the moment her SSS-rank spiritual probe touched me, it bounced off. Got deflected gently. Bounced. Like throwing a tennis ball at a black hole and having it spit it back in your face. She actually stopped walking. Her eyes lit up with starlight, literal spiritual energy blazing in her pupils. The wind was going crazy, whipping her cape around, and I could see her chest rising and falling just slightly faster than, completely composed. This woman had broken countless arrogant young geniuses with a single psychic glare. She'd made 6-star peak warriors' minds collapse just by looking at them. And my brain just said, nah, and sent her signal back with interest. Inspector Sunday. Old Sheen hustled forward with a bow, barely containing his smugness. This is Chun-Yi, the top candidate from Shanjiang Province's prodigy camp. She completely ignored him. Those frozen eyes were drilling into me like she was trying to x-ray my soul. She walked toward me. Every step on the metal floor hit like a heartbeat. T-H-O-M. Tum. Tum. The psychic pressure between us was clashing and grinding like 2 invisible tidal waves slamming into each other. Within 10 meters of us, the howling wind just stopped. Dead still. Even the dust particles froze mid-air like someone hit pause on reality. Qin Shan's report said you're a newly promoted 7-star genius. She stopped 3 meters away. Voice cold enough to frost glass. She frowned, which on that gorgeous face looked like an ice sculpture expressing mild displeasure. But someone who can deflect my spirit probe and maintain a stable psychic field in my presence. Chun-Yi. Is your level really just 7-star? I stood there, perfectly calm, internally thinking. Okay, this 9-star spiritual pressure is genuinely impressive. Way beyond Rushuang and the others. This mercury-like penetrating force is actually pretty cool. Out loud, I gave a polite nod and said in my most respectful yet relaxed tone, well, Inspector, my level kind of. Fluctuates. A few days ago, I was indeed 7-star. But I've had some new insights lately, and my realm went up just a teensy tiny bit. A teensy tiny bit. Her elegant eyebrows shot up. A spiritual pressure wave like a tsunami slammed down across the entire helipad. The gravity on the platform felt like it multiplied several times over. The Aurora jet behind her groaned with the sound of metal being squeezed. You dare play coy with me? Oh, she was mad. Full-on furious. In her mind, she's the apex predator, a 9-star spiritual grandmaster sent by the National Association. Whatever kind of genius this kid is, he should at minimum be trembling with respect in her divine presence. Instead, I was standing here casually sparring with her psychically like we were playing ping pong. Insolent. Purple lightning exploded in the depths of those beautiful phoenix eyes. Look, lady, I get it. You're used to being the scariest person in every room. But you showed up thinking you were meeting a 7-star baby genius, and instead you found, well, me. This is going to be a really fun conversation. So Inspector Sun Wanyu decided to make me kneel. Like, literally. She unleashed a full-power 9-star psychic hurricane. A visible purple shockwave rippling outward that could have flattened a 100-story building. Her plan was simple. Crush my mind, make my knees buckle, force me to apologize on the ground like a good little junior. Old Sheen got blasted back several steps, sweating bullets, desperately trying to think of something diplomatic to say before this turned into a murder scene. But here's the thing. I didn't kneel. I didn't flinch. I didn't even change my facial expression. Instead, I went, break, and I let it all out. My 14.1% SSS rank spiritual power came flooding out of my mind like a damn explosion. If her psychic force was a raging river, mine was a black hole that eats rivers for breakfast and asks for seconds. Boom. Our invisible forces collided in midair. The entire metal helipad cratered half a meter downward. Electric arcs were popping and crackling everywhere like the world's angriest fireworks display. And Sun Wanyu, the mighty national inspector, the untouchable 9-star spiritual grandmaster, let out a grunt and stumbled backward. 2 steps. In front of everyone. She bit her lip, face going from ice white to ghost white, eyes full of absolute disbelief. Impossible. His spiritual power is more stable than mine. Old Sheen's jaw was on the floor. The atmosphere had reached weapons-grade awkward. She was about to explode again. Round 2. This time probably lethal, when salvation arrived in the form of a beeping alarm. From Old Sheen's wrist terminal. Her killing intent stuttered. She shot me one last death glare full of, "This isn't over," energy, then whipped around to look at the screen. Old Sheen was privately thinking, thank God for this phone call. Perfect timing. Then the holographic screen opened and everything stopped being funny. Fire. Everywhere. Buildings collapsing. A terrified officer screaming. Beast tide incoming. Jinshan City's defenses collapsed instantly. Purple flame thunder eagles, 2 of them. 2 beast emperors. Over 300,000 beasts. Stampeding straight through Jinshan City toward Linjiang. The feed cut to a wide shot and, yeah, the entire horizon was just a black tsunami of monsters, trampling the freshly rebuilt Jinshan City like it was made of cardboard. Behind them, 2 building-sized birds wreathed in purple lightning fire, blocking out the sun with their wings. Their overlapping screeches came through the speakers, and I felt it in my soul. Pure, distilled murder bird energy. Old Sheen's face went dark. Jinshan City had just been recaptured. How many people? Then his brain connected the dots at lightning speed. Step 1. Snow Mountain Forbidden Zone erupts, drawing away nearly every 7- and 8-star grandmaster in the region. Step 2. While provincial defenses are at their weakest, 2 long-missing beast emperors launch a full-scale blitz with a 300,000-strong beast army. This is a coordinated trap. They lured the tiger away from the mountain. His voice was raw with fury. He'd thought the Beast Gate cult's attack at Cloudtop Villa was their last desperate move. Turns out that was just one piece of a much bigger chess game. Even the deaths of those 2 cult leaders might have been sacrificed on purpose to make everyone drop their guard. The rooftop mood flipped instantly. 1 second ago it was Inspector versus cocky kid psychic showdown. Now it was, oh, we might all die. Sun Wanyu, who'd been about to go full rage mode on me, heard 2 beast emperors, and her pupils shrank to pinpoints. She quietly pulled back all her spiritual pressure like nothing happened and turned around to face the screen. Very smooth. Very natural. Definitely not using the turn to hide the fact that I'd just pushed her back 2 steps. Absolutely not. She took a deep breath, put her Ice Queen face back on, eyelashes trembling just slightly. The only tell that she was still processing what just happened between us. This kid, that depth of spiritual power, it made even me flinch. When did the Southern region produce someone like this? Those intelligence department idiots completely missed him. But the inspector's pride must be maintained. Always. Without turning around, voice perfectly cold, she said, "Chinyi, was it, your spiritual foundation is not bad." I almost laughed out loud. Not bad. She got bounced backward, and the best she could manage was not bad. This woman's ego could survive atmospheric re-entry. But I could read the room. 300,000 monsters plus 2 boss birds heading our way. Not the time to dunk on her. Thank you for the compliment, Inspector Sunday. Then, because I am physically incapable of not being me, I added, your pressure wave actually squeezed out a bit more of my hidden potential just now. I should spar with you more often. Nothing beats a good sparring session for rapid improvement. Her eye twitched so hard. She glared at me with the fury of 1,000 suns. Sparring? He's calling that a spar? She knew. I knew. We both knew. But she couldn't call me out without admitting she lost, so she just gave the iciest humph in human history and said, if you really have that kind of power, then stop running your mouth. Chinyi, on a real battlefield, against a 9-star beast emperor, can you still stand? As steady as you did just now? Do you dare come with me to face those 2 oversized chickens? Sun Wan, you hit me with the classic, you coming or not? Challenge, expecting me to puff up my chest and charge off to fight giant lightning birds like every other hot-blooded young idiot she's ever tested. Instead, I said, wait, the disgust on her face. You'd think I just told her I collect toenails as a hobby. In her mind, she was already filing me under, coward, in big red letters. What? Scared, lady. Lady, I am not scared. I am busy. Before we go kill those oversized chickens, I said, my voice dropping to absolute zero. We need to take out the rats hiding in this building first. Rats? Both she and Old Sheen looked at me like I'd lost my mind. This is the Provincial Martial Arts Association headquarters, the most heavily guarded building in the entire province. Old Sheen lives here. Sun Wanyu had already swept the whole building with her 9-star spiritual scan when she landed. Nothing. They found nothing. But I found something. Follow me. I dropped all pretense. My SSS rank spiritual power went from casually leaking to full nuclear reactor online, combined with my fresh 9-star peak chi feeding energy into my senses like jet fuel into a bonfire. My perception underwent a complete transformation. The entire 100-story building became transparent in my mind. Every person, every heartbeat, every tiny flicker of energy. I could sense cockroaches in the plumbing. I could count the dust particles in the elevator shafts. And those faint beast-type energy signatures that had been whispering at the edge of my awareness? Now they were screaming like 5 spotlights in a pitch-black room. 5 sources, all in the same place. First floor lobby. Found you. I smashed through a ventilation shaft grate and dove straight down the building's central shaft like a reverse meteor, falling 100 stories in seconds flat. Behind me, Sun Wanyu finally detected what I'd sensed. Her eyes went wide. For the second time today, the great inspector was shocked by something I did. But what really messed with her head wasn't the enemies. It was that I'd found them way before she did. She's a legendary 9-star spiritual master. Top tier nationally. And a 20-year-old kid just made her detection abilities look like dial-up internet compared to fiber optic. I could practically feel her brain short-circuiting behind me as she bit down on her teeth and rocketed after me in a streak of light. And poor old Sheen, bringing up the rear, couldn't sense anything. He was just watching 2 people suddenly launch themselves down a building shaft and thinking, they both detected something? Through dozens of floors? And I can't feel a single thing. Rough day for the old man's self-esteem. But he grabbed his spear and jumped anyway. Respect. Now let me tell you what was happening downstairs. The lobby was chaos. Red warning lights flashing, alarms blaring, warriors rushing out to respond to the beast tide. And walking against the crowd, smooth as you please, was Yao Guangyuan with his entourage. Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost flanking him. And behind them, The two poor, sacrifice, idiots, bodies burning up from the inside, practically vibrating with unstable energy, thinking they were about to get officially registered as grandmasters. Master Yao, are we going to the certification office? I feel like I'm about to explode with power. Yeah, should we hit the testing area first? These guys were so happy. So genuinely, puppy dog excited. Standing in the martial arts holy land, thinking their dreams were about to come true, completely unaware that they were walking bombs designed to attract a beast apocalypse directly into this building. Yao Guanyuan didn't even look back, just smiled that serial killer smile and whispered. Soon, he was eyeing the electronic directory in the lobby, calculating maximum destruction. Then my killing intent hit him like a freight train from directly above. Who? He looked up. All he saw was a black shadow diving at him like a hawk snatching a rabbit, moving so fast the air itself was screaming. His mutated dark gold pupils shrank to needle points as an alloy spear filled his entire field of vision, getting bigger by the millisecond. Dodge. Can't. He's locked onto me. This man was an 8-star grandmaster. And in that moment, facing my attack, he felt nothing but complete, absolute despair. There was no escape route, no counter, no hope. He tried anyway, let out a beast-like roar and attempted to force dodge. Too slow. Boom. One sound. One single, earth-shattering impact that drowned out every alarm in the building. Time stopped. Every warrior in the lobby froze mid-step and turned to look. There, on the reinforced alloy wall, the one displaying the association's honors and achievements, was Yao Guanyuan, pinned like a butterfly in a collection. My black alloy spear had punched clean through his chest and nailed him to the wall with enough force to crater the metal behind him. The great schemer, the secret cult leader, the man who thought he was playing 4D chess with beast-bait sacrifices and coordinated invasions. Pinned to a wall by a 20-year-old in a bathrobe who sensed him through 100 floors. Get wrecked. Yao Guanyuan coughed up blood, and not even normal blood. Dark gold blood. Because of course this guy's blood isn't a normal color anymore. Nothing about him is normal. He's basically a monster wearing a human costume, and my spear just ripped the costume off. ARGH, his robes exploded. Underneath was this nightmare body, bulging veins, muscles twisted like tree roots, dark gold scales spreading across his skin, and 2 actual fangs growing out of his mouth. Full beast mode transformation, right there in the lobby, in front of everyone. Real subtle, buddy. Chun. Why? He grabbed my spear, the one still sticking through his chest, mind you, and ripped it out of the wall with sheer rage-powered strength. Crashed to the floor like a sack of evil potatoes, gasping and snarling, staring up at me with those vertical beast pupils. I could see his brain trying to process what just happened. He'd been gone for what, a few days? Last time he checked I was 6-star peak, and now I'd just one-shot his 8-star behind from 100 floors up without breaking a sweat. His math wasn't matting. Behind him, Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost had completely blue-screened. Their boss, the guy who drank Emperor Blood Serum and leveled up to 8-star, just got pinned to a wall like a poster at a college dorm. In one move. Their faces behind those masks were probably doing something truly spectacular. And those 2, sacrifice idiots? The ones who thought they were here to register as grandmasters? They were shaking so hard their knees were playing castanets. Then the lobby erupted. Enemy attack. Someone just murdered a guy in the lobby. Activate level 1 defenses. Everyone was screaming and scattering. This is the provincial headquarters, the holiest ground in the entire province's martial arts world. And I just nailed a man to the honors wall like a Christmas ornament. Security guards drew their weapons, but their hands were vibrating so hard from my lingering pressure that nobody dared step forward. Then the cavalry arrived. Sun Wanyu floated down like an angry angel, hovering in midair with visible psychic energy swirling around her, looking down at everyone with maximum "I'm better than you" energy. Old Qin landed like a meteor. Boom. Cracking the marble floor beneath his feet, beard flying, voice thundering across the entire hall. The Provincial Association is apprehending criminals. All non-essential personnel, retreat 100 meters. Anyone who disobeys will be treated as an accomplice. His 9-star voice rattled every window in the building and made everyone's eardrums cry for mercy. Is that Chairman Kyujin? A 9-star Grandmaster is personally making arrests. Run. At this level, you die just from standing too close. The crowd parted like the Red Sea on fast forward. Now picture Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost situation. Behind them, Old Sheen, looking ready to murder. Above them, Sun Wanyu, radiating, I will end you, energy. In front of them, me, arms crossed, smirking, blocking the only exit. And their boss was on the floor bleeding dark gold goop and growling like a wounded animal. According to their brilliant plan, based on intel that said I was a slightly strong 6-star peak, the worst-case scenario was Qin Shan showing up and Yao Guanyuan would handle him while Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost easily captured or killed little old me. Instead, little old me turned their 8-star boss into wall art with a single attack. I wasn't 6-star. I was a primordial murder beast wearing a 20-year-old skin. Shadow Ghost, desperate, spun around to the 2 sacrifice guys and screamed, "What are you standing there for? Attack him. It's your only chance to survive." The 2 idiots looked at Shadow Ghost. Then they looked at me, the guy who just pinned an 8-star Grandmaster to a wall like a butterfly in a display case. Then they looked at each other. Attack that? You want us to die? And without a single word of discussion, both of them turned around and sprinted for the exit with the unified determination of 2 men who had just discovered that their life insurance was very inadequate. I quit. I want to go home. They made it exactly 1 step. Leaving? Did you ask me first? Sun Wanyu materialized above them like a teleporting ice goddess. Before these 2 quasi-7-star meatheads could even process what was happening, a mountain of psychic pressure pancaked them into the marble floor. 2 simultaneous thuds. 2 human-shaped craters. Instant unconsciousness. They didn't even get to scream. She landed, dusted off her hands without even glancing at her handiwork, and went back to glaring at the remaining cult members. Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost watched this happen, and their sweat could have filled a swimming pool. Instant kill. Again, this beautiful, delicate-looking woman just swatted 2 near Grandmaster fighters like mosquitoes. Shadow Ghost's voice was trembling so hard, it was basically a vibration. 3 top-tier Grandmaster-level combatants. Then the realization hit them both at the exact same time. Their faces crumbled. We were set up by the church leadership? Yeah, boys. Your precious Beastgate cult sent you here with outdated intel and a prayer. They told you I was 6-star. They didn't mention Old Sheen's backup. They definitely didn't mention the National Inspector who can flatten people with her brain. You weren't assassins. You were appetizers. Yao Guanyuan was clutching the hole in his chest, dripping dark gold blood that was literally corroding the floor. Sizzling. Smoking. Like acid. This man's blood has a pH problem. He stared at me with those fully mutated vertical pupils, voice cracking with disbelief and rage. Chunyi, you knew? Yeah, dude. I knew. I knew the moment I walked into this building. You thought you were going to sneak in during the chaos, activate your walking beast bait bombs, and bring the apocalypse right into our living room. Instead, you got a spear through the chest before you even finished checking the lobby directory. I dusted off my hands like I'd just taken out the recycling. Grandmaster Yao. Long time no see. You look different. He wasn't listening to my comedy. His eyes had locked onto Sun Wanyu, and unlike everyone else in this lobby, the old-timer actually recognized her from some trip to the capital years ago. The Sun Woman. I watched the last spark of hope drain from his face like bathwater. Old Sheen holding the rear. Sun Wanyu in the air. Me blocking the front. 3 top-tier powerhouses in a triangle of, you're absolutely done. It's over. It's all over. Then, because villains in this world apparently have a mandatory self-destruct protocol, the realization that he'd been played by his own cult hit him. They sent him here knowing he'd die. He was the disposable piece. The pawn sacrifice. And who did he blame? Me. Obviously. Chunyi. If I'm dying, you're coming with me. He burned his Emperor blood essence, the very source of his 8-star power, in one suicidal explosion of energy. His aura skyrocketed past his previous peak. The floor beneath him disintegrated. He launched himself at me like a dark gold guided missile, claws out, fangs bared, completely ignoring Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu behind him because he'd chosen to spend his final moments trying to drag me to hell with him. It was fast. Like, genuinely fast. He left a trail of blood-red shockwaves across the entire lobby. Watch out, Old Sheen shouted. I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even shift my weight. I just watched that screaming demon face get bigger and bigger in my vision, and I quietly shook my head. Too bad. You don't even have the right to touch my sleeve anymore. I raised my right hand, opened my fingers, reached forward. Snap. The dark gold blur froze midair like someone hit pause on reality. Nobody saw what happened. Not a single person in that lobby caught my movement. Even the air didn't have time to react. A black alloy spear had materialized in my hand, summoned from my inventory like pulling a pin from a pocket, and Yao Guangyuan had essentially impaled himself on it at full speed. Through and through. Again. But I wasn't done. I flicked my wrist and launched him straight up into the air like a kebab getting tossed by a street vendor. Then my spear became a storm. A black hurricane of stabbing, slashing, piercing death, so fast the individual strikes were invisible. All you could see was a blur of darkness and the sound. That horrible, beautiful drum roll of metal punching through scales and shattering bone. Thud, 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 thud. Up in the air, Yao Guangyuan was being taken apart. His dark gold blood exploded outward in every direction with each impact, spraying across the lobby ceiling in these grotesque but weirdly beautiful arcs. It looked like fireworks. Golden, bloody fireworks. The grand finale came with one massive horizontal sweep. Boom. What was left of Yao Guangyuan, and I'm using the word what generously because it no longer resembled a person, slammed into the marble floor with a wet, final splat. Silence. Complete. Absolute. You could hear a dust particle land silence. Every single person in that lobby was frozen with their mouth open, brains offline, eyes threatening to leave their skulls. A grandmaster who'd burned his life force for one final desperate attack turned into ceiling decorations in under 3 seconds. The regular warriors were just thinking, holy crap, that guy is strong, and enjoying the show. But old Qin and Sun Wanyu? They understood what they'd just witnessed on a completely different level. Sun Wanyu, Miss, your spiritual foundation is not bad, was staring at me with actual fear in those ice-cold eyes. The speed and power in those spear strikes had made even her nervous. A 9-star spiritual grandmaster. Nervous. Because of me. And old Qin. Poor old Qin. He was gripping his own spear with trembling hands, staring at my back, having a full existential crisis. He'd fought Yao Guangyuan his entire career. He knew better than anyone how dangerous a cornered, self-destructing 8-star grandmaster could be. Even at his peak, taking down Yao would have been a real fight. I didn't even move my feet. I killed him like it was nothing. Like swatting a fly. Like it was barely worth the effort of lifting my arm. Somewhere behind those old eyes, I knew exactly what he was thinking. When did this happen? Last month I was still protecting this kid. And now, he's so far beyond me that I can't even see his back anymore. Sorry, old Qin. Your little chick grew up. And it turned out to be a dragon. The lobby was dead quiet. Everyone staring at the puddle that used to be Yao Guangyuan like they'd just watched a magic trick where the volunteer doesn't come back. I lowered my spear. A few drops of dark gold blood dripped off the tip. Somewhere in the crowd, someone swallowed so loud it echoed. Old Qin was gripping his spear so hard his knuckles turned white. He looked at the body, looked at me, and I could see the math running behind his eyes. Not just shock, genuine relief. Relief that the kid who can do that is on humanity's side. Then, because there's always one more thing, grab hostages. Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost made their move. Desperation play. They bolted toward a group of terrified young warriors standing near the back, hoping to snag some human shields and bargain their way out. 2 cold snorts rang out at the exact same time. One was mine. One was Sun Wanyu's. I could tell she was thinking, this punk just put on the greatest one-man show in martial arts history. If I can't even handle 2 leftovers, I might as well turn in my inspector badge and become a librarian. We both unleashed our spiritual power simultaneously. No coordination. No plan. Just 2 SSS-rank psychic forces independently deciding these 2 idiots needed to be on the floor right now. It was like dropping 2 invisible mountains on their heads mid-leap. Golden Lion and Shadow Ghost went from flying attack to human meteorites in about half a second. They cratered into the marble floor so hard the stone exploded outward. 2 perfect human-shaped holes. They coughed up blood and actually tried to get up. Sun Wanyu's eye twitched. Still moving, she flickered. literally just vanished and reappeared at the edge of their craters and started stomping. White combat boots, 9-star Grandmaster Fury, zero mercy. Stay down, thud, thud, thud. She kicked their heads back into the ground like she was testing the structural integrity of their skulls. They went from barely conscious to deeply, profoundly unconscious in 3 stomps. Then she stepped back, straightened up, lifted her chin, and shot me this look. That look said, "See, I do things too. I'm not just standing here looking pretty. Respect me." I smiled. Didn't say a word. Smart man knows when to let a woman have her moment. Old Sheen snapped back into command mode and started barking orders. Spirit sealing cuffs. All of them. Lock them down. An enforcement squad swarmed in and slapped special chi-blocking handcuffs on all 4 survivors, plus what was left of Yao Guan Yuan, because apparently protocol demands you handcuff meat puddles too. Then Old Sheen was already on the phone. "Lung Yu, get Shen Rushuang. First floor lobby now." His voice was pure battlefield commander. "Chen Yi, Inspector Sun, and I are heading to the north wall to intercept the Beast Emperors. You two hold headquarters. You just hit 7-star. Your chi is at peak freshness. Defend this building with your lives. Protect the personnel and records. This is our rear line. It cannot fall." From the other end, both voices came back instantly, steel hard and synchronized. "Yes, SIR. We're here until the building is." 2 minutes later, whoosh whoosh, 2 figures dropped from the upper floors like combat angels, landing perfectly beside Old Sheen. Lung Yu and Shen Rushuang, both in skin-tight black tactical suits that looked like they were painted on, hair pulled into sharp high ponytails, radiating that fresh 7-star Grandmaster energy mixed with "don't mess with me" attitude. Their eyes swept the lobby, took in the destruction, the craters, the blood puddle formerly known as Yao Guan Yuan. Both of them flinched internally. They knew I was strong, but seeing a veteran Grandmaster reduced to abstract art on the marble floor was a different kind of knowing. Then their gazes landed on me. Then, in perfect unison, their gazes slid to the woman standing behind me. Sun Wanyu. Gorgeous, regal, radiating that deep, bottomless spiritual power that made even 7-star Grandmasters feel small. Standing right behind me, like it was natural. I watched identical micro-expressions flash across both their faces. Amazement, wariness, and a tiny, barely there hint of jealousy. Who is this woman? Why is she standing so close to our husband? And why does she feel like she could squash us both without trying? But to their credit, they swallowed it. Beast tide incoming. Priorities. Old Sheen, we're here. Good girls. Save the interrogation about the mysterious, beautiful woman for after we survive the apocalypse. Lung Yu and Shen Rushuang snapped to attention and accepted their orders like proper soldiers. Old Sheen looked at them with genuine pride. His 2 newest 7-star pillars, stepping up right when the world needed them. Then the old man flipped the switch from shocked grandpa to iron-blooded war commander in 0 seconds flat. Seal the lobby. 7-star Grandmasters Lung Yu and Shen Rushuang hold this position. Enforcement squad, with me to the north wall. The beast tide is about to breach the city. Anyone who retreats 1 step gets executed on the spot. His voice hit the crowd like a war drum. Every panicking warrior in that building suddenly remembered they had a spine. People split off, some evacuating civilians, others grabbing weapons and sprinting toward armored transports. Sun Wanyu landed beside me. White clothes still spotless because apparently dirt is afraid of her too. But her eyes when she looked at me? Different now. I could see the question running through her head. That spear strike. If it was aimed at me, could I have blocked it? The answer was no, and she knew it. Old Sheen turned to her with an actual bow, not the polite kind. The, "I'm begging you" kind. "Inspector, the Beast Emperors. Please, stop talking. Move." Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions of power ripped through the lobby simultaneously. Tables and chairs went flying. The specially reinforced glass ceiling shattered as 3 streaks of light. Me, Old Sheen, and Sun Wanyu blasted through it and rocketed into the sky with sonic booms trailing behind us. Down below, Lung Yu and Shen Rushuang stood there staring at the hole in the ceiling, still processing everything. That gorgeous woman was Inspector Sun Wanyu, Rushuang whispered. Lung Yu took a deep breath, remembering how she'd felt a spike of territorial jealousy toward a 9-star national inspector, and let out an embarrassed little laugh. Then the two of them exchanged a very specific look. The kind of look that says, yes, she's impossibly powerful and unreachable. But then again, so were we before Chunyi happened. They were both thinking the exact same thing. Knowing that man, he'd probably find a way to collect the inspector too. I choose not to comment on my wife's internal gossip. Up in the sky, wind screaming past us, the city shrinking below like a model set. Sun Wanyu turned to old Qin mid-flight with a frown. Those two women, Lung Yu and Shun Rushuang. My files say they're 6-star peak. You just called them 7-star grandmasters. Oh. And if Linjiang City has 2 7-star grandmasters available, why weren't they deployed to the Snow Mountain crisis? The mobilization order was mandatory for everyone except essential garrison commanders like you. Old Qin's face went through about 4 shades of awkward. He glanced at me flying ahead, and I could feel his brain scrambling for an answer that didn't involve the words. They were busy being coached by Chunyi in a way I cannot describe to a female inspector. Ahem. Well, you see, Inspector. They just broke through. Like 2 days ago. Their foundations aren't stable yet, and since the deployment roster was already submitted before their breakthrough, they happened to stay behind. Lucky coincidence, really. Haha. Sun Wanyu didn't push it, but I could feel her eyes on my back, doing math. 2 brand new 7-star grandmasters popping up in the same city within days of each other. Plus me, a walking anomaly she still couldn't fully gauge. Is there something in the water in Linjiang City? Lady, you have no idea. Faster, I shouted back, because we had bigger problems. 10 kilometers ahead, the 100-meter-tall North City Wall, humanity's last line of defense, looked absolutely pathetic under the shadows of 2 massive beast emperors. Their silhouettes blotted out chunks of the sky, wings spread wide, purple lightning crackling across their feathers. 300,000 monsters behind them. 2 Boeing-sized murder birds leading the charge. 1 wall between them and a city full of people. Time to go to work. We hit the north wall like 3 meteors. The soldiers down there were having the worst day of their lives. Purple lightning raining from the sky. 300,000 monsters body slamming the base of a 100-meter wall. And then we showed up. It's Chairman Quzhen and the inspector, cheering. Like we were rock stars at a concert, except the concert venue was on fire and the audience might die. Old Qin took one look at the 9-star male eagle circling inside the thunderclouds and his face went dark. This thing had a wingspan of over 300 meters. Every feather glowed metallic purple. It was radiating so much pressure that even Old Qin, a 9-star grandmaster, was feeling chest tightness. This thing got stronger since last time. He gripped his spear and turned to Sun Wanyu. I'll attack and pin it down. You use your spiritual power to disrupt its lightning. If it fires another bombardment, the wall is done. Understood. No arguments. No ego. When a city of millions is about to get eaten, even ice queens cooperate. Old Qin rocketed upward like a golden comet, spear blazing with 1,000 afterimages. Sun Wanyu followed, eyes glowing silver, psychic needles forming by the hundreds. 2 of humanity's finest, working in perfect sync. The eagle looked down at them with what I can only describe as condescending amusement. It didn't even dodge, just spread its wings and screamed. The entire thundercloud detonated. Hundreds of massive purple lightning serpents lashed out in every direction. A full 360-degree death zone. Thunder purgatory. Old Qin's spear was spinning like a propeller, trying to shred the lightning, but the energy was conducting through the metal shaft and turning his arms numb. His protective chi was flickering like a candle in a hurricane, but the old warrior held. Pure grit. Decades of experience keeping him alive through sheer stubbornness. Get back. He landed a thrust right on the eagle's claw and actually stopped its momentum for a heartbeat. Meanwhile, Sun Wanyu's psychic needles were drilling into the bird's mind like mercury through cracks, making it screech in pain every time it tried to charge up a city-killer lightning ball. Great teamwork. Heroic effort. Problem was, they were burning through their reserves at max speed while the bird was basically just flexing. Same-rank beasts have a massive physical advantage over humans. Old Qin's chi was declining with age. Sun Wanyu was sweating, face pale, clearly straining to maintain that level of psychic interference. They were holding, barely, But the clock was ticking. Now let me tell you about MY fight, because the vibes over here were completely different. Clang. My black gold spear drew a perfect dark crescent through the air and met the female eagle's claw head-on. The same claw that could crush a tank like a soda can. Sparks erupted, like two meteors colliding. Equal. Raw strength, dead even. Nice grip you got there, birdie. I wobbled slightly from the impact, steadied myself, and grinned. My blood was singing. The female eagle did not appreciate my attitude. She went berserk, wings flapping out a hurricane of purple wind blades while her entire Boeing-sized body transformed into a purple lightning bolt charging straight at me. Did I retreat? I charged into it. Let's go. 9-star peak chi burning like a furnace. SSS rank spiritual power coating my spear. I became a dark purple streak and plunged straight into the storm of razor wind. Thud, 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 thud. The sky filled with the sounds of fists hitting flesh and spear punching through scales. At first I was feeling her out, matching her rhythm, trading blows, getting a read on her patterns. That lasted about 60 seconds. Then the warm-up ended. My attacks got faster, heavier, more precise. This 8-star peak beast emperor that had been snarling in my face started getting pushed back. She went from attacking to defending to, oh no, in about 30 seconds. Open up. One devastating reverse thrust, fast as lightning, heavy as a mountain, punched clean through her iron-hard feathers and buried itself in her wing joint. I ripped the spear out. A fountain of dark gold blood laced with purple electricity sprayed across the sky like the world's most metal fireworks show. She screamed, tried to fly away. Running? Get back here. I grabbed her tail feathers with a psychic hand. Literally an invisible giant fist made of pure spiritual energy, and yanked her entire multi-hundred-ton body back toward me like reeling in the ugliest fish ever caught. Then I wound up and delivered a full-power horizontal sweep. Boom. Several hundred tons of Beast Emperor went pinwheeling through the sky like a feathery cannonball, shedding purple plumage everywhere. She tumbled end over end, shrieking. I basically just hit a creature the size of an airplane with a baseball bat, and that's when things got really interesting. The male eagle, the 9-star one, the one that was casually dominating Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu combined, heard his girlfriend crying, saw her blood spraying across the clouds. His dark gold eyes turned blood red. Boom. He didn't care about the two humans anymore. Shattered Sun Wanyu's psychic cage in one pulse. Ignored Old Sheen's spear like it was a toothpick. Spread those 300-meter wings and launched himself at me with every ounce of 9-star fury a lovesick murder bird could produce. I just beat up his wife. And now Papa Eagle wants a word. It's going to save the female. Sun Wanyu's face went white. She'd taken a psychic backlash so hard she was coughing blood, but her eyes were blazing with something I'd never seen from her before. Hope. Aimed at me. She'd figured it out. I could solo the female eagle. If I finished it off, the whole battle flips. I was the key. The entire city's survival hinged on me getting uninterrupted murder time with Mama Bird. Chin Shan, stop it. Don't let it reach Chun Wai. She screamed, slammed her hands together, and her forehead literally split open with a thin line of blood. She'd activated some kind of forbidden technique, burning her core spiritual essence to fuel it. 9-fold spirit chains. Hold. Still. 9 massive silver chains materialized out of thin air and wrapped around the male eagle's body like the world's most aggressive gift wrapping. The bird screeched, thrashing wildly. 3 chains snapped in 1 second. Sun Wanyu puked blood and nearly fell out of the sky. But she held on, teeth clenched so hard I thought they'd crack, face twisted into something between agony and pure spite. Chin Shan. Now, I know. These old bones are all in today. Old Sheen went nuclear. His declining, aging chi ignited like a supernova, blood-burning technique, the kind of move that trades your lifespan for power. He turned into a golden comet and dove straight into the lightning storm. His spear condensed every drop of his life's cultivation into a 100-meter-long golden beam, and he slammed it into the male eagle's skull. Get back, clang. The impact pushed the 9-star murder bird back hundreds of meters. Old Sheen's hands split open from the recoil, blood everywhere, body spinning backward through the air, But both he and Sun Wanyu were smiling through the blood. They'd held it. Chenyi, forget about us. Kill the female. We've got this. It's not getting through. I looked back. Old Qin, drenched in his own blood, burning like a candle on its last inch. Sun Wanyu, face white as paper, forehead bleeding, barely conscious but refusing to let those chains break. Two people at the absolute peak of human power, spending their lives like pocket change to buy me time. I turned back to Mama Bird. She'd crawled out of the rubble, battered and bleeding, but alive, because 8-star beast emperors are basically unkillable cockroaches with wings. She saw the murder in my eyes, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in hers. She spread her wings and started gathering every last drop of purple lightning she had. I charged. She screamed, one piercing, desperate cry, and pulled all her remaining energy into her beak. Every last spark of purple fire compressed into that giant hook of death. Then she did the craziest thing possible. Instead of running, she folded her wings and turned herself into a purple comet aimed directly at my chest. All in. Kamikaze, take me with you. Going for the mutual kill? I grinned. Grabbed my spear with both hands and pumped every ounce of 9-star peak chi into it until the metal was humming. Break. Spear met beak. Head on. Full speed. Boom crack. The explosion of energy was so bright everyone on the wall had to look away. The shockwave rattled buildings for miles. Then, a horrible, gut-wrenching snapping sound. My spear broke, shattered right in the middle, black metal fragments spraying everywhere like shrapnel. The cheering on the wall died instantly. Thousands of throats went silent at once. His weapon broke. It's over. Without a weapon, how can he? Even old Qin flinched so hard he almost ate a lightning bolt. The female eagle's eyes lit up with psychotic joy. Her cracked beak was still coming, still aimed at my heart. She was screeching in triumph, already tasting victory. And I was standing there, weaponless. Giant murder beak, 2 feet from my chest. My expression didn't change, not even a little. Because, and this is the part where being me is just so convenient, I casually flipped my right hand, and a brand new alloy spear appeared out of nowhere. Thank you, inventory system. Thank you for letting me store spare weapons like a normal person stores spare batteries. What? Did he just? Where did that come from? The eagle's triumphant screech died in her throat. Those vertical pupils went from victory to, oh no, faster than I've ever seen an emotion change on a bird's face. She tried to break, tried to swerve. But physics is physics, and several hundred tons of bird moving at full speed doesn't just stop. Surprised, I flashed my teeth. Since you're so eager to come to me, let me help. I didn't stab. That would have been boring. Instead, I gripped the new spear like a baseball bat, twisted my whole body into it. Hips, core, shoulders, everything, and swung at her giant incoming head like I was going for a home run. Boom. The most satisfying sound I've ever produced in my entire life. Her skull caved in sideways. Her entire head deformed on impact. Purple blood and bone fragments exploded in every direction as her massive body, propelled by its own stupid momentum plus my swing, rocketed toward the ground like the world's ugliest baseball. Going, gone. The female eagle hit the ground like God dropped a bowling ball. The impact registered as a small earthquake. She cratered into the wasteland a few hundred meters from the wall, punching a hole nearly 100 meters wide into solid rock. And the hundreds of 3- and 4-star beasts that happened to be standing in the splash zone didn't even get to scream. Just, poof, instant blood mist and confetti. Funny thing, there was a time when a single 3-star beast would have had me fighting for my life. A 4-star? That was my first situation. Now they're dying from my collateral damage. Not even worth a thought. I gave that realization exactly 0.1 seconds of nostalgia before the killing instinct took back over. I walked down from the sky. Literally walked. Step by step on invisible stairs, like the atmosphere owed me a staircase and was too scared to refuse. Spear in hand, tip pointing down, catching the sunlight with that cold, someone's about to die, gleam. Down in the crater, I could hear coughing. This bird was still alive. Half her skull was caved in from my home run swing, and she was still twitching in the rubble. Beast emperors are absolutely ridiculous. You could put one through a wood chipper, and it'd probably crawl out asking for seconds. But not today. She looked up at me, and I saw something beautiful in those massive eyes. Pure, undiluted terror. No more aggression. No more pride. Just a giant murder bird suddenly understanding that she was no longer the predator. She tried to flap her wings. One twitch, and the pain dropped her right back into the blood pool. I stepped onto her chest. Just stood there on top of a creature the size of an airplane, looking down at her like she was a chicken on a cutting board. Tough girl. Still kicking. I raised my spear. But you're already on the menu. No point struggling. I leaned in with a grin. My wives are waiting for you to hit the pod. She understood. I swear she understood. She let out this final, heartbreaking wail of despair and opened her shattered beak for one last desperate bite. My spear went in through her open mouth, through her brain, and pinned her skull to the earth like a pushpin through a note. One twitch. Then nothing. 8-star peak, Beast Emperor. Dead. Up in the sky, Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu were running on fumes. Both covered in blood. Chi flickering, breathing ragged, staying airborne through pure willpower and spite. Then the male eagle felt his mate die. The sound he made. Even I felt it. A scream so full of grief and rage that the sky itself darkened. The clouds twisted. The air went cold. He stopped caring about defense entirely. Let Old Sheen's spear cut him. Let Sun Wanyu's psychic needles stab his brain. Didn't matter. Only one thought left in that massive skull. Kill everything. His lightning turned from purple to blood red. He's going to self-destruct. Old Sheen screamed. Inspector, get back. Yeah, no. Not happening. I came in from directly above like a dark purple meteor, moving so fast the air itself screamed and shattered beneath my feet. Swallow it back down. The male eagle's feathers stood straight up. Every single one. Because in that moment, his apex predator instincts, the instincts of a creature at the absolute top of the food chain, told him something they'd never told him before. You are about to die. The pressure coming from above me was heavier than his own self-destruction. If he kept charging his explosion, my spear would shatter his spine before the energy even left his body. So this clever monster did the impossible. He aborted his self-destruct mid-cast. Swallowed all that berserk energy back down his own throat. The backlash ripped his chest open, purple gold blood spraying everywhere, but it bought him one split second to pull off a physics-defying barrel roll that no creature that size should be capable of. My spear grazed his wing, so close, and kept going straight down. He dodged it. The sneaky overgrown chicken actually dodged my killing blow. But my spear didn't care about missing. It hit the ground instead, and the ground lost. Catastrophically. The impact was like a meteor striking Earth. The surface collapsed. A ring of dark purple energy exploded outward in every direction for a full kilometer. Every beast within that radius, iron-armored rhinos, shadow leopards, blood wolves, didn't matter, evaporated. Not killed, not crushed, evaporated. Turned into paste so fine you couldn't tell what species they used to be. Thousands upon thousands of monsters, gone in a single shockwave from a missed attack. I pulled my spear out of the crater, looked up at the wounded male eagle circling overhead, and cracked my neck. Round 2, big boy. My missed attack created a vacuum zone in the beast tide. Thousands of monsters, just gone. And the remaining 300,000? They all stopped. Every single one. These mindless killing machines that had been charging forward like furry bulldozers suddenly developed the survival instinct of a rabbit at a wolf convention. Their legs were shaking. They wouldn't move. 300,000 beasts, frozen solid, because they just watched what happened to the one standing where my spear landed. And that was the miss. I floated up out of the crater, which was basically a swimming pool filled with meat smoothie, dusted off my shoulder, and looked up at the male eagle. He'd survived. Barely. Aborting his self-destruct had ripped his chest open, and he was bleeding everywhere, panting like he'd just run a marathon through hell. But those blood-red eyes were locked on me, and behind the rage I could see something new. Respect. The terrified kind. He knew. If that spear had connected, he'd be a dead bird. Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu were catching their breath in the distance, exchanging. Did that just happen? Looks. If I hadn't forced that thing to cancel its explosion, they'd both be in pieces right now. Old Sheen, Inspector Sunday. I spun my spear in a lazy circle and pointed it at the sky. Leave the husband to me. I stomped the air hard enough to create a sonic boom. Hey, big guy. Your wife's already been added to the grocery list. Why don't you be a good boy and become a matching set? The male eagle didn't run. Even now, bleeding and broken, he had his pride. He was the king of the wasteland. Plus, I'd murdered his wife. That's not a grudge you walk away from. But he was done being stupid about it. Instead of another wide-area lightning barrage, he compressed all his remaining electrical power into his wings and claws. His massive body started vibrating at some bizarre frequency, crackling with concentrated purple electricity. Then he vanished. Not, flew really fast, vanished. Like someone deleted a Boeing 747 from existence. The only evidence he'd been there were zigzagging trails of purple lightning hanging in the air, a giant net of afterimages closing in around me from every direction. Lightning shadow escape, Sun One, you shouted from the distance. He's burning his blood essence for speed. Even I can barely track him. Everyone on the wall was losing their minds. From their perspective, I was just standing there with my eyes closed while an invisible 9-star death bird was about to shred me from a blind spot. I looked like an idiot waiting to die. But in my spiritual perception, crystal clear, black and white world, perfect silence, and one blazing red-purple energy, signature moving at impossible speed, coming in from my rear left. The dead angle. My eyes snapped open. Purple light detonated in my pupils. Open up! I whipped around and swung my spear in the most beautiful arc I've ever drawn. Perfected Azure Dragon spear technique. Not brute force this time. Silk and water. Redirect, deflect, flow. Clang. His tank-crushing thunder claw met my spear, and the energy just slid off, like hitting a spinning cushion. The devastating momentum got redirected, absorbed, neutralized. But a 9-star beast emperor burning his own blood for one all-or-nothing strike is a lot of energy. Even after deflecting most of it, the leftover force was still too much for the weapon. Crack, boom. Spear number 2, deceased. Black metal shrapnel flying everywhere. Again. His weapon broke again. The wall collectively had a heart attack. At this range, no weapon, face-to-face with a 9-star beast emperor, that's a death sentence. The eagle's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. He thought he'd won the gamble. This human's weapons keep shattering. A tiger without fangs is just a big cat. His massive beak opened wide, aimed straight at my exposed throat, and I was just standing there in a cloud of metal fragments, not panicking even slightly, with a tiny smirk on my face. My right hand reached casually into empty air. Whoosh! A third brand-new black-gold spear materialized in my grip. Gleaming. Perfect. Cold as death. No warning. No delay. Like a magic trick performed by someone who's bored of impressing people. Thank you, storage space. Best feature I ever invested in. I packed those spare spears like a responsible adult packs extra underwear for a trip. And the look on that bird's face, beak wide open, 1 inch from my neck, suddenly staring at a fresh spear tip pointed right back at him, was worth everything. Surprise, feather brain. I've got a third one. The bird's tiny brain could not compute. Spear broke. Spear back. How? Why? That half second of, does not understand, was all I needed. This time, try dodging this. I flicked my wrist and the Azure Dragon spear technique activated. Not the flashy power version, but the nasty one. The sneaky, venomous snake from a hole one. The spear found the most evil angle possible and shot forward. Right into his left eyeball. Through the eye. Through the brain. Out the other side. The scream he started didn't even finish. Just, SCRE, and then silence. His massive body locked up, twitched violently, and all that terrifying lightning energy flickered out like someone unplugged a Christmas tree. Then gravity took over. Several thousand tons of dead 9-star beast emperor dropped straight down like the world's worst meteorite, aimed perfectly at the thickest cluster of his own army. The beast below looked up, saw a shadow, had about half a second to think. Boom. The ground screamed. The impact crushed over 1,000 beasts into paste beneath their own king's corpse. Didn't even get to yelp. Just flat. But I wasn't done. Because why waste a perfectly good dramatic moment? I flipped upside down in midair and dove after the body like a black lightning bolt. Kill. I drove my spear straight through the eagle's chest while it was still settling into the ground, and pumped every ounce of 9-star peak power into the strike. The body split in half down the middle with a sound like God ripping a bedsheet. The leftover lightning in the corpse mixed with my energy and exploded outward in a ring of blood-red destruction. sweeping across the ground in every direction. Every beast within a kilometer just popped, like balloons at a kid's party, except the balloons were full of blood and organs. One spear thrust, another 1,000-meter kill zone. I pulled my weapon out, stood on top of the split-open carcass, and looked out over the battlefield through a curtain of falling blood rain. Peak aesthetic. Up in the sky, Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu had completely stopped functioning. This kid, Old Sheen, was breathing hard. He did that on purpose. Sun Wanyu's body was actually trembling. Not fear. Something else entirely. Her eyes were practically glowing. Yes, he faked the weapon breaking. Wait, what? I don't know what trick he used to make weapons appear from nowhere, but he deliberately let the eagle think it had won. Made it drop its guard. And the instant it committed to the killing blow, he'd already calculated the exact angle and trajectory of his counterattack. She took a shaky breath. This level of battlefield control, this kind of predatory instinct. She paused for dramatic effect, because apparently even ice queens appreciate good timing. He's a born war god. A monster built for killing. Okay, so here's the thing. She was giving me way too much credit. I didn't fake anything. My spears genuinely broke because they were made of regular alloy, and I was fighting a 9-star beast emperor. I just happened to pack extras. That's not genius battlefield strategy. That's called being prepared. But if the smartest woman on the battlefield wants to believe I'm a 500 IQ tactical mastermind who orchestrated the whole thing, who am I to correct her? She turned to Old Sheen, voice dead serious. This word God camp slot. It belongs to him. No question. Then, quietly, to herself, I might be witnessing the rise of humanity's next leader. Old Sheen looked at me dragging two Beast Emperor corpses back toward the wall and smiled the warmest smile I'd ever seen on that weathered face. Yeah, this kid really does give too many surprises. And the beast tide? Done. Finished. Over. 300,000 murder beasts watched their king get split like firewood, watched their queen get skewered through the mouth, watched thousands of their buddies get vaporized by shockwaves from attacks that weren't even aimed at them. Their killing instinct finally lost the argument with their survival instinct. The entire horde let out a collective wail. Hundreds of thousands of monsters crying at once, like hell's orchestra tuning up, and then every single one of them turned around and ran, stampeding over each other, trampling their own, sprinting away from me as fast as biology allowed. That broke the dam. The Beast Emperors are dead. The tide has collapsed. CHARG. The city gates slammed open. Every warrior on that wall poured out like a dam burst, eyes blazing red, weapons raised, riding the momentum of my kill straight into the fleeing horde. The counterattack lasted an entire day and night. The human army chased those beasts hundreds of kilometers north, carving a road of monster corpses through the wasteland. Out of 300,000 beasts, barely 10% survived. The greatest victory in Linjiang City's history. And it started because I packed spare spears. The smoke was still clearing, and Old Sheen's hands were shaking as he grabbed his communicator. Not from exhaustion, from excitement. He needed to report this immediately. If the higher-ups found out that Linjiang City had a kid who could solo 9-star beast emperors, the resources and status they'd throw at me would be insane. He dialed up the Southern Region Elder Council. The hologram popped up, but instead of an elder, it was some stiff-faced secretary with gold-rimmed glasses. Chairman Sheen, I'm Secretary Li Hong. The elders are currently deep inside the Snow Mountain restricted zone handling the crisis. Signal interference is severe. All regional matters are being routed through the Secretariat. Old Sheen didn't waste a breath. Secretary Li. Emergency military report. Linjiang City was hit by a special class beast tide. 2 purple flame thunder eagles leading 300,000 beasts. One of them was 9-star, even Mr. Poker Face flinched at 9-star beast emperor. That's city-destroying power. Old Sheen took a breath, glanced at Sun Wanyu and me, and delivered the punchline. But, crisis resolved. Inspector Sun Wanyu, myself, and Provincial Prodigy Camp Chief Chen Yi combined forces to slay both beast emperors and crush the tide. Total victory. Now, Old Sheen's wording here was very strategic, and I appreciated it. He said, combined forces. 3 people, shared credit. Because if he'd said, yeah, actually the 20-year-old did everything while I bled on myself, and the inspector stomped on some unconscious guys, The bureaucrats would have launched a 6-month investigation into whether everyone involved was on drugs. Plus, Sun Wanyu was standing right there. Telling headquarters she basically watched from the nosebleed seats while I ran a one-man show would have been a career-ending insult. 3-person team effort, let everyone keep their dignity. Old Sheen figured he'd just quietly transfer his share of the credit to me later. Smart man. But Secretary Lee didn't celebrate. Instead, his fingers flew across a holographic keyboard, pulling up files. Then he looked up with suspicious eyes. Chairman Sheen, regarding the battle report. Your capabilities and Inspector Sun's are well documented. Joint combat against a beast emperor is plausible. However, his voice dropped a few degrees. This, Chunyi you mentioned. Our system shows NO high-level combat registration for this individual. A 20-year-old with a blank file participated in killing a 9-star beast emperor? And you list him as the key contributor. He pushed his glasses up, the universal bureaucrat power move. Chairman Sheen, this is wartime. Every report affects regional strategic deployment. Are you certain your intelligence is accurate? Translation. Are you senile? Old man, I couldn't even blame him. If someone told me that a nobody kid with 0 records just killed a beast emperor, I'd also assume someone was writing fantasy novels. Old Sheen didn't argue. He just stepped aside and gestured toward Sun Wanyu. If you don't trust me, the inspector can verify. Sun Wanyu stepped into frame. Cool. Composed. Radiating authority. Secretary Lee, Chairman Sheen's report is accurate. We fought together, and the one who contributed the most was this newly advanced 9-star warrior, Chunyi. 9-star. Secretary Lee's poker face shattered. His eyes went wide enough to see from space. A new 9-star combatant? But there's nothing in our database. His fingers were literally trembling on the keyboard. Chunyi? Chun as in East Ear Chun? Yi as in wild? A 9-star powerhouse who doesn't exist in the national database. That's not a gap in the records. That's a system-wide failure of intelligence gathering. Old Sheen cleared his throat. No need to search, Secretary Lee. Chunyi only completed his classified testing at our provincial headquarters 2 days ago. Deep breath. Each word delivered like a hammer strike. His test result. SSS rank spiritual power mutation. I swear I heard Secretary Lee's brain reboot. The man froze. Mouth open. Eyes glazed. Then, like a computer finishing a loading screen, everything clicked into place. SSS rank spiritual power. That explained everything. The impossible cultivation speed, the 9-star power at 20 years old, the ability to fight beast emperors. It was still absolutely insane, but at least it was theoretically possible with SSS rank abilities. His entire attitude did a full 180 so fast I'm surprised he didn't get whiplash. The cold, bureaucratic mask vanished. He literally stood up from his desk, palms flat on the table, practically vibrating with urgency. Of course, I was blind. An SSS rank awakener that completely meets special class conscription requirements. His voice went from suspicious government official to fan meeting his favorite celebrity in about 2 seconds. Revised orders. Inspector Sun Wanyu is to immediately escort Mr. Chunyi to the Snow Mountain restricted zone. The situation there is critical. The nation needs him. The entire southern region needs him. And there it was. The big hat dropped right on my head. The nation needs you. The region needs you. With Old Sheen and Sun Wanyu both looking at me like proud parents at a graduation and a government secretary, practically saluting through a hologram. Could I say no? Could I say, actually I'd rather go home, take a bath, and let my wives cook that eagle meat? Of course not. I stepped forward, straightened my back, looked into the camera, and gave the most patriotic response of my life. No problem. I follow the organization's arrangements. Secretary Lee looked like he might cry from happiness. Wonderful. Mr. Chunyi. Young, talented, a true pillar of the nation. I will immediately notify the Elder Council of your existence. We eagerly await your arrival. Great. So now I'm going from guy in bathrobe drinking tea to national strategic asset deployed to a crisis zone in the span of about 4 hours. This morning I was lounging on a couch. Now I'm a pillar of the nation. What a Tuesday. Old Sheen hung up the call and turned to me with the smuggest grin I've ever seen on a centenarian. Did you hear that? Secretary Lee called you a pillar of the nation. I've never heard him say that about anyone. I shrugged. Yeah. Pillar of the nation. Very cool. But old Chin, before I go save the country at Snow Mountain, shouldn't we maybe clean up the mess in our own backyard first? Sun Wanyu chimed in with perfect timing. The secretary said it's urgent, but regulations give us 3 days. Our eyes met. 2 sets of pupils reflecting the same thought. 3 days of hunting season on a broken, fleeing beast army with no emperors left to protect them. This was going to be fun. Minutes later, we were screaming north in the Aurora jet, chasing the trail of carnage our ground troops had already carved into the wasteland. Inside the cabin, I pulled up my communicator and video called home. Lung Yu and Shun Rushuang appeared on screen, both in serious military mode, standing in the lobby they'd been ordered to defend. Wifey Yu. Wifey Rushuang. I gave them my biggest, dumbest smile. All good. Both birds are dead. I'm heading out with old Chin to chase down the leftovers. Be good girls and wait for me at home. Okay. The 2 of them froze. Not because of the beast-tied update. Because I just called them, wifey, and their eyes had drifted past me to see who else was in this cabin. Old Chin, pretending very hard to find the clouds outside absolutely fascinating. Sun Wanyu, looking directly at the screen with those ice-cold analytical eyes. Both my wives turned tomato red simultaneously. Perfectly synchronized embarrassment. They glared at me through the screen with eyes that screamed, "Are you insane? You just called us wifey in front of the national inspector?" But I could tell, underneath the mortification, after a day where the sky literally fell and 300,000 monsters tried to eat their city, hearing their man casually call them wifey, like the apocalypse was just a minor inconvenience, that hit different. In a good way. Old Chin couldn't take it anymore. Ahem. Ahem ahem. He shoved his face into the camera frame. Lung Yu, Shin Rushuang, please continue guarding headquarters. We're pursuing the remnant beasts. That is all. Both women snapped back to professional mode so fast they probably got whiplash. Yes, sir. Mission understood. One last lingering look at me. You're dead when you get home. Kind that actually means, please come home safe. And the call ended. Silence in the cabin. Then I felt it. Sun Wanyu's gaze, boring into the side of my head like a psychic drill. She'd seen both women. And being a 9-star spiritual master with access to personnel files, her brain was doing some very interesting math. She knew their ages. Both were 40+, maybe 50-something. Thanks to high-level martial arts cultivation, they looked 25, sure, but on paper, they could be my aunts. I could practically hear her internal narration. SSS rank spiritual talent. Discovered young. 2 women in positions of power, one a provincial inspector, one a vice chairman. They found this diamond in the rough early and did these 2 cougars use their authority to get first dibs on this boy? Is this a powerful older women devour talented young man situation? She was writing an entire drama in her head. I could see it in the way she kept glancing between me and the blank screen where my wives' faces had been, going, TSK, under her breath. Lady, it's not what you think. It's worse than what you think. But I'm not about to explain my system to a government official. The jet punched through the clouds, and we caught up to the front lines. Below us, the blood road stretched north for hundreds of kilometers, but progress had stalled. The surviving beasts had hit the mountain pass and turned around for one last desperate stand. The human army was exhausted. Hundreds of kilometers of running and fighting had drained everyone. Soldiers were rotating in and out of the front line in waves, each group fighting until they collapsed, then being replaced by the next. A brutal stalemate at the mouth of the mountains. I'm going in. I hit the cabin door release. Whoosh. Hurricane force wind ripped through the cabin. I jumped straight out of a jet moving at Mach whatever, because doors are for people who can't fly. Still falling, I gathered every drop of 9-star peak power in my lungs and unleashed a roar that made the Thunder Eagles sound like baby chicks. Everybody, move. SSS rank spiritual authority laced through every syllable. The command hit every warrior on that battlefield like a physical slap to the brain. Thousands of blood-soaked fighters looked up. Against the blazing noon sun, a black silhouette was plummeting from the heavens like a dark meteor wrapped in purple flames, radiating enough power to make the air itself flinch. Fall back. Fall back. Don't block him. The big guy's here. Run. He's about TOULT. The human side voluntarily retreated. Not out of fear, out of self-preservation. Nobody wanted to be standing in MY blast radius. I adjusted my trajectory mid-fall, locked onto the densest concentration of monsters at the mountain pass, and dove straight into them like a nuclear warhead with a grudge. I hit the ground like a bunker buster bomb. The earth split open. A shockwave ring blasted outward. Over 103 and 4-star beasts in the immediate zone didn't even have time to make a sound before their bodies inflated like balloons and pop. Blood rain, bone confetti, organ salad, the whole buffet. Just spraying everywhere in a 360-degree splash of, you shouldn't have been standing there. When the dust settled, there was a massive crater of pure red horror, and me standing in the middle of it, surrounded by nothing but chunky paste. Not a single living thing within arm's reach. I walked out of the pit casually, scanning the area. This beast army looked scary on paper, hundreds of thousands, but 90% were 1- and 2-star cannon fodder. The actual threats? Rare as honest politicians. On the rim of my crater, one beast stood out. A shadow demon leopard king, 6-star peak, covered in black scales, compact and deadly, crouching and staring at me with supposedly intelligent eyes. It was smart, I'll give it that. Smart enough to watch me walk out of a crater made of its former army and immediately decide on the correct course of action. It ran. No hesitation. No revenge roar. Just zoom. A black blur rocketing toward the mountains at maximum. I want to live, speed. Going somewhere. I hit it with a psychic slap from the sky. Full SSS rank spiritual power, like an invisible giant palm swatting a bug mid-flight. The leopard's legendary speed became absolutely meaningless as its body locked up in midair and got pressed toward the ground like God was closing a book on it. Then I jumped. Knees compressed, body coiled, launched upward like a spring, and came down on top of it like a meteor with a personal grudge. Boom. The 6-star peak beast king, famous for its defenses, exploded on contact. Didn't get a single sound out. Just splat. Meat everywhere. Bone dust. A leopard-shaped hole in reality. Behind me, Sun Wanyu was watching all of this. And something was happening to her. Her usually frost-cold eyes were trembling. Her heart, which she could hear with perfect 9-star clarity, was beating faster. Looking at me standing on top of that beast king's remains, drenched in the aesthetics of violence, radiating raw power. This little man has some skill. She bit her lip. Her eyes did this thing. You know the thing. Then she suddenly shot past me like she was trying to prove something. Move. Let's hit their nest. Oh, so now we're racing? Okay then. What followed was the most one-sided safari in human history. Sun Wanyu and I carved our way through the 100,000 mountains like twin chainsaws through a forest of tofu. Everything in our path, poisonous bugs, ambush beasts, desperate remnants, got turned into mulch. We weren't even slowing down. Just two unstoppable killing machines on a nature hike from hell. Higher and higher we climbed. The air got thin, but the spiritual energy got thick, so dense it was practically soup. Finally, we hit the summit and found it. The nest. A massive structure built from unknown giant beast bones and black ironwood. Ancient and primitive, sitting on top of the world like a dragon's throne. And in the very center, 3 eggs. Each one half as tall as me. Purple lightning patterns crawling across their shells. Beast Emperor eggs. My eyes lit up like a kid finding presents under the Christmas tree. These things were priceless. Eat them. Legendary nutrition. Hatch them. Pet 9-star Thunderbirds. Either way, jackpot. Then, SCRE. SCRE. 2 angry screeches from above. I looked up. 2 juvenile purple flame thunder eagles. Wingspan about 20 meters, 4-star peak. Were circling overhead, glaring down at us like we'd just broken into their house. Which we had. This was literally their dead parents' house. And we'd killed their parents. And now we were eyeballing their unborn siblings like they were an omelet. In their defense, I'd be mad too. They had pure royal bloodline in their veins, which meant they hit way above their weight class, easily matching 5-star beasts even at 4-star. But they were staring down at the guy who'd just turned their 9-star dad into a split carcass and their 8-star mom into spear kebab. Kids, I admire the courage. I really do. But let's think about this carefully. 2 baby chickens that haven't even grown up yet. Sun Wanyu snorted, launching herself into the sky like a white missile powered by pure disdain. I followed right behind her, but instead of using spiritual power to fly, I went full caveman mode and just kicked the air hard enough to create explosions under my feet. Step, 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 sonic booms with every stomp. Who needs levitation when your legs are basically rocket engines? We looked at each other midair. No words needed. Just two people who'd been killing things together all day and had developed the kind of synchronized combat instinct that usually takes years. Two invisible psychic hands slammed down on the baby eagles simultaneously. SKRE, wings locked. Bodies dropped. Two 4-star thunder eagles plummeting like rocks, their royal bloodline doing absolutely nothing to save them. We crossed paths in midair, each taking one bird, and caved their skulls in at the exact same moment. Two thuds. Two headless futures. The purple flame thunder eagle bloodline, officially extinct. Sun Wanyu landed at the edge of the nest, chest rising and falling, surrounded by beast blood. And here's the thing. She looked absolutely incredible. That Ice Queen composure was gone. In its place was something raw and wild. The setting sun was painting her in gold and red. Blood spattered across that white combat suit. Hair loose in the mountain wind. Cheeks flushed from combat. She looked like a war goddess who'd just finished a shift and was feeling really good about it. I looked up at her, and my brain just stopped. She turned. Our eyes met. The cold was gone from hers, too. What was left was pure post-battle adrenaline and something else, something that had been building since the moment I bounced her psychic probe on the helipad. No words. I crossed the distance in one step, grabbed her waist, and kissed her. She didn't push me away. She didn't even hesitate. System notification. You know what happened. Skip forward 10,000 words. Ding. And there it was, the system reward. I got Sun Wanyu's signature technique. 9-fold spirit chains. The same forbidden move she'd used to hold down a rampaging 9-star beast emperor while bleeding from her forehead. I barely had time to peek at the technique details before. Further system notifications. Additional notifications. 1 hour later. Mountain wind. Clearing the air. As one does. Sun Wanyu was sitting on a clean rock, calmly putting her combat suit back on like she was getting ready for a business meeting, and absolutely nothing noteworthy had occurred in the past 60 minutes. Below us, the sound of the advancing warrior army was getting closer. They were climbing toward the summit. She finished fixing her hair, snapped back into full inspector mode, and gave me the coldest look. What just happened was because the Thunder Eagle blood affected my mental state. A momentary lapse in judgment. She lifted her chin. Don't read into it. And don't expect me to take responsibility. I burst out laughing. Walked right up to her, slid my arm around her waist again. Completely natural, like I'd been doing it for years. Pulled her close, and looked into her eyes. That's fine. You don't have to take responsibility. Pause. I will. She froze for half a second. Something complicated flickered across those beautiful eyes. Then she reached up with one slender finger, tilted my chin upward, and gave me this smirk that was equal parts seductive and challenging. Big words from a little boy. She gently pushed my hands away and stepped to the cliff's edge. I'm very picky, sweetheart. And you, while not terrible, are about 100 years too early to talk about taking responsibility for me. With that, she laughed, stepped off the cliff, and vanished into the clouds below like a white bird diving into the sea. Absolutely theatrical. Maximum dramatic exit energy. I stood at the edge, watching her disappear, rubbing my chin. Whether you want it or not. That's not your decision to make. It's mine. Wife number 4 acquired. Well, acquired is a strong word. Let's say, deposit placed. Contract pending. But the deal will close. I always deliver. Sun Wanyu glided down from the mountain looking like a woman who had absolutely, definitely, 100% not just had the time of her life. Ice Queen mask, reinstalled. Voice, back to cold. Posture, regal. But if you listen closely, and I have SSS rank perception, so I always listen closely, her voice had this tiny hint of satisfied hoarseness that wasn't there before. She told herself a whole story on the way down. I know because I could practically feel her internal monologue from the mountaintop. This was just stress relief. A hunt. I'm the hunter. He was the prey. I saw something I wanted. I took it. I'm done. Simple. Clean. Totally in control. I am not joining some harem. I am a national inspector. I don't compete with other women. This changes nothing. Sure, lady. Whatever helps you fly straight. She landed at base camp, told old Sheen the nest was cleared, and left everything else to the team. Her voice had that post-combat lazy rasp, and old Chin didn't even notice. Bless his innocent old heart. By the time I came down carrying 3 massive Beast Emperor eggs, her jet was already a dot on the horizon. Old Chin rushed over, checked me for injuries. None, obviously. Then squinted suspiciously at the sky where Sun Wanyu had disappeared. He pulled me aside and whispered, "She left pretty fast. You didn't offend her up there, did you?" His face was pure worried grandpa. In his mind, 2 young hotheads alone on a mountain equals verbal conflict. If I'd mouthed off to a national inspector, my career was toast. I gave him my most innocent smile. Offend her? No way. We got along great. Really. Connected. Deep exchange of ideas. Felt like we'd known each other forever. She probably just had somewhere to be. He stared into my eyes for a long time, running his built-in lie detector. Apparently I passed, because he nodded slowly. Good. Good. As long as there's no trouble. Now, you brought the eggs down too? Excellent. Major contribution that night. 16th floor. The greatest dinner party in Linjiang City history. Old Chin had pulled rank and allocated a portion of 9-star Beast Emperor meat for my personal use. As a reward for saving the city. Fair trade, honestly. The eagle was in the pot. The spiritual energy coming off that broth was so thick, you could practically chew the air. The entire floor smelled like heaven decided to open a restaurant. I sat at the head of the table watching my 3 wives demolish eagle meat like they hadn't eaten in weeks. Faces glistening, cheese surging, cheeks flushed from the spiritual energy flooding their bodies. Here, Chinga, this piece is the most tender. Very nutritious. I dropped a choice cut into Su Chinga's bowl like the caring husband I am. Lung Yu put down her chopsticks. So there were 3 emperor eggs? Turn them in, I said, sipping my wine. Strategic resource. Old Chin sending them to the National Research Institute. Shame. Chinga sighed. Would have been nice to keep one. Wouldn't help. Lung Yu shook her head. Emperor-class eggs can't hatch outside their natural environment. They'll probably extract the life source fluid for high-grade medicines or run genetic experiments. Everyone nodded and went back to eating. Easy come, easy go. Then, several drinks in, Shen Rushuang dropped this little comment. By the way, I saw the special operations team setting up security on the 19th floor. Looks like Inspector Sun is staying in our building tonight. Silence. Su Chinga blinked those big doe eyes, looked at the premium Beast Emperor meat steaming on our table, and said in her sweetest, most thoughtful voice, "Honey, Inspector Sun helped us so much today, and she's a guest from far away, staying right upstairs. Shouldn't we send her some of this to try?" The table went quiet. Lung Yu and Shun Rushuang both turned to look at me with perfectly synchronized, "We see right through you," expressions. I put down my chopsticks. My smile could have lit up the building. I grabbed Chinga, pulled her close, and planted a big kiss on her cheek. Huh. Chinga gets me. Absolute soulmate. I was just thinking we should share, but I was afraid you girls would overthink it, so I kept my mouth shut. And here my Chinga goes and says exactly what's in my heart. What a woman. Lung Yu rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. She knew exactly what was churning in my scheming little brain. But she grabbed a fancy food box anyway. Fine. Pack it up and go. Then she added with a dismissive huff, "Don't get your hopes up, though. She's from the capital. She's probably had every delicacy on earth. 9-star eagle meat might not even impress her. But Chinga's right. We should show proper courtesy. She is your recommender for War God Camp. After all," Shen Rushuang smiled knowingly. "Just go and come back quick. Don't make us look like we have no manners." I packed up the food box, grinning like an idiot, and headed for the elevator. Don't worry, ladies. She'll definitely appreciate this. We're comrades. Battle buddies. Or friends. It's just a friendly visit between fellow warriors. The elevator doors closed on 3 faces that said, "We don't believe a single word you just said, but we're letting you go anyway. 19th floor, here I come. Just bringing dinner to a friend. A friend I spent an hour with on a mountaintop. A friend who is definitely not expecting me. A friend who told me I'm 100 years too early. We'll see about that." 19th floor. Security checkpoint. I stepped out of the elevator and immediately got blocked by 2 4-star guards who looked like they'd been hired specifically to not let people through doors. "Apologies, Chief Chun. This floor is Inspector Sun's private rest area. No one enters without her permission." The hallway was absurd. A sound-dampening carpet, guards every few meters, 3 checkpoints before you even see a door. You'd think they were protecting nuclear launch codes, not one woman's beauty sleep. I pulled out my communicator and called her. 2 rings. She picked up. And listen, the image on that screen nearly killed me faster than any beast emperor. Sun Wanyu in a loose silk nightgown, hair wet from a fresh shower, draped over her shoulders, city lights twinkling behind her through the floor-to-ceiling window. What do you want? Ice cold. As if nothing had happened today. As if we hadn't spent an hour on a mountain doing things that would make the Beastgate cult blush. I held up the food box and waved it at the camera with my friendliest grin. Inspector Sun, long night ahead, so I brought you some freshly cooked 9-star eagle meat. Just a little thank you for today's guidance. Leave it with the guards. I'm going to sleep. She reached for the disconnect button. Hold on. I dropped the goofy act. Locked eyes with the camera. Lowered my voice. Sun Wanyu. Teacher Sunday, actually. I have a cultivation question I need your help with. She froze. Then snorted. Ask tomorrow. She knew exactly what I was doing. Time for the big play. I sighed dramatically, putting on my most troubled, studious expression. See, the thing is, after watching you use the 9-fold spirit chain technique yesterday, I went back and tried practicing it myself. I managed to get started, got through the basics, actually, but I can only form 3 chains so far. It feels sluggish. Something's off. I'm worried if I keep practicing wrong, I might hurt myself. So I really need Teacher Sun to open the door and give me some personal instruction. I paused. Let my eyes do the talking. The kind of talking only 2 people who'd been on that mountaintop would understand. On screen, her breathing hitched. Just for a beat. Then her eyes filled with a cocktail of embarrassment and fury. Because here's the thing she was processing. The 9-fold spirit chain is an SSS rank secret technique. When SHE first learned it, as a 7-star SSS rank prodigy being groomed for greatness, it took her a month just to feel the first chain. Half a year to reach 3 chains. And this little punk was claiming he learned it from watching her use it once. And he's already at 3 chains. And he's just a little stuck? Absolute nonsense. He was using the most transparent excuse in the history of excuses, dressed up in dedicated student clothing, delivered with a straight face. Good. Very good. Her anger hit some kind of overflow point and wrapped all the way back around to dangerous amusement. She smiled, the kind of smile that makes smart men reconsider their life choices. Beautiful. Lethal. Since Chief Chun is so dedicated to his studies. Even making late-night house calls, she ran her tongue slowly across her lips, voice dropping to a purr. How could a teacher turn away such an eager student? Come in. I'm very curious to see exactly how far your 3 chains have progressed, what she was actually thinking. Get in here, you little punk. I'm going to lock you down with all 9 chains and psychic whip you until you regret being born with a mouth. The armored door clicked open. The 2 guards outside snapped to attention and looked at me with pure reverence. Chief Chun, please go ahead. And I could practically read their internal monologue. This is the prodigy camp chief? Unbelievable. He just killed 2 beast emperors today, and now he's spending his nights studying forbidden techniques with the inspector. He saw the technique once and already learned it. While we spent our evening drinking beer and talking trash, this guy is hauling midnight snacks to a 9-star master and begging for extra lessons. No wonder he's the strongest. The gap isn't talent. It's work ethic. We don't deserve to breathe the same air as this man. Bless their hearts. These 2 guards just watched a man smooth talk his way into a woman's bedroom at midnight and concluded it was inspirational dedication to martial arts. I nodded politely at them and walked through the door. Clunk. It sealed behind me. Auto-locked. 9-star clearance required to open. Trapped inside with a woman who just promised to chain me up and test my progress. This is going to be a great study session. The room was dark. Just a few mood lamps near the window casting this warm amber glow. Smelled like fancy shower gel and murderous intent. Chinyi. That lazy, dangerous voice came from ahead. I looked up and, okay, I need to be honest here. My brain needed a second to reboot. Sun Wanyu. Barefoot on plush carpet. Silk bathrobe barely tied. Hanging off one shoulder. Showing enough porcelain skin and collarbone to be classified as a weapon of mass distraction. Wet hair dripping down her neck, water droplets tracing paths to places that made my throat very dry. Gorgeous. Heart attack gorgeous. But also, purple sparks dancing on her fingertips and a stare cold enough to freeze hellfire. Put the food down. She lifted her chin. You said you learned my technique? Then stop talking and show me. Right here. Right now. Use the ninefold spirit chain on me. Arms crossed. Smirk dripping with contempt. Let teacher see if your skills are real. But her eyes went razor sharp. If you lied to get in here, teacher won't be gentle. I could literally see the screenplay playing behind her eyes. She was so confident I was bluffing. In her mind, the plan was already written. Step 1. Chunyi tries to fake it. Step 2. He fails miserably. Step 3. She activates the real ninefold chain on me and wraps me up like a dumpling. Step 4. She materializes a psychic whip and beats me senseless while I beg for mercy. She was already mentally rehearsing the whip sounds. Her lips were curling into this sadistic little smile that said she was going to enjoy this. Because there was no way, absolutely zero chance, that anyone could learn an SSS rank forbidden technique by watching it once. She'd spent a month just feeling the first chain, half a year to reach 3. And this 20-year-old punk was claiming he saw it yesterday and already mastered 3 chains? Impossible. Laughable. Obviously a lie to get into her room. I sighed, put down the food box, looked her dead in the eye. Well, since teacher's son insists, forgive the rudeness. My eyes snapped wide open. No fancy wind-up. No dramatic speech. Just go. My SSS rank spiritual power erupted. Purer, denser, and more overwhelming than anything she'd expected. The smug look on her face froze mid-smirk. Clank, clank, clank. 3 spiritual chains, perfectly structured, flawlessly formed, crackling with binding force, materialized out of thin air and snapped around her before she could even twitch. 3 crisp locking sounds. Her script didn't even make it past the title card. This is real. Her eyes went wide as dinner plates. The shock was genuine, not the polite kind. My entire understanding of reality is broken kind. She'd been so sure I was lying. Now she was standing in her own living room, in her silk bathrobe, locked down by 3 chains that were denser and more powerful than anything she could have produced at my level. She frantically tried to channel her own spiritual power to break free, but the chains were solid. Way more solid than just learned yesterday, technique had any right to be. She stared at me from inches away, her expression cycling through shock, fury, embarrassment, and a tiny flash of panic she couldn't quite hide. You? What are you doing? I pulled her in closer, arms circling her waist. Our faces so close my nose was almost touching hers. Her cheeks were burning red, half rage, half something she'd never admit to. I gave her my most infuriating grin. Teacher Sunday, you told me to try. I tried. So, how are my 3 chains? Not bad, right? I tightened the chains just a fraction, just enough to close the remaining gap between us. But the thing is, I feel like something's still off. Like I'm missing the final touch. I looked into those furious, watering, beautiful eyes of hers and whispered, so please, teacher's son, won't you guide me through the rest? Somewhere in the back of her mind, the whole psychic whip punishment fantasy was crumbling to dust. She'd invited the fox into the henhouse, and the fox showed up with actual fox credentials. She wanted to chain me up like a dumpling. Instead, she was the one wrapped up. Life comes at you fast when you underestimate Chunyi. 3 hours. I'd been studying on the 19th floor for 3 hours. Meanwhile, 3 floors below me, my wives were having a collective crisis. I wasn't there to witness it personally, but I know exactly how it went because I know these women like I know my own spear techniques. The training room. 3 gorgeous women sitting on meditation cushions, surrounded by premium spiritual energy so thick you could bottle it, holding $1,000 nutrient vials, and absolutely not training. Shen Rushuang cracked first, threw her empty vial into the recycling bin with way more force than necessary. Chinga, it's been 3 hours. You send a midnight snack and ask 1 question. Does that take 3 hours? Chinga's face twitched. Her newly awakened spiritual senses, or more accurately, her woman senses, had been screaming alarm bells since hour 1. Every feminine instinct in her body was saying, that is not an academic visit. But logic fought back. That's Sun won you up there. National Inspector. 9-star Grandmaster. SSS rank. They met today? There's no way even Chunyi could. Maybe. He's working through a difficult part? A 9-star master's personal guidance is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It probably takes a while for the hands-on instruction. Hands-on? Lung Yu snorted without even opening her eyes. Silence. The beautiful thing was, all three of their phones were right there. One button. One call. Hey honey, what's taking so long? 3 hours. Nobody touched a phone. Not because they didn't want to. Shinru Shuang was thinking, what if he's genuinely in a deep cultivation breakthrough? If I call and interrupt it, I'll look like the insecure wife who ruined a once-in-a-lifetime learning opportunity. Lung Yu was thinking, calling to check up is beneath my dignity. Also, what if I call and the video shows me something I really don't want to see? The awkwardness would literally kill me. And sweet little Chinga? She was doing the real math. If, hypothetically, 1 in 10,000 chance, Sun Wanyu actually wanted something from Chunyi, could the three of us stop her? She's a 9-star spiritual grandmaster. We couldn't stop her from taking our lunch money, let alone. In a world where the strong rule, Sun Wanyu's existence is basically an executive order that doesn't require approval. Forget it, Shin Rushuang sighed, cracking open a fresh nutrient vial and chugging it. Better to train. At this rate, if the household keeps expanding, we won't even have room to stand. All three exchanged a look of weary resignation. Train. They closed their eyes, forced their thoughts down, started cultivating. But this time, there was a new fuel source powering their meditation, pure, undiluted competitive anxiety. The training room went quiet. The spiritual energy flowed. And somewhere beneath the serene surface, a current called, if I don't level up fast there won't be enough husband to go around, pushed all three of them harder than any beast tide ever could. Now, let me tell you what was actually happening on the 19th floor. I'll spare the details. There were a lot of dotted lines in this chapter, and I respect that. But here's what I can tell you. Sun Wanyu, the woman who walked in planning to chain me up like a dumpling and whip me with a psychic riding crop, found herself in a very different situation than she'd planned. Her whole life, she'd been a martial arts fanatic. Her personal philosophy was simple. Men only slow down your sword arm. She genuinely believed that cultivation breakthroughs and mastering new techniques were the highest, purest forms of pleasure in existence. She had planned this perfectly. I'd failed to demonstrate the technique. She'd lock me down with the real 9-fold chain. She'd punish me for lying. She'd reassert dominance. Script written, director approved, cameras rolling. Except I actually knew the technique. And my spiritual power was actually denser than hers. And things went very off-script. The mighty national inspector. The untouchable ice queen. The woman who was going to hunt me. That ended up turning to me with eyes that were 30% angry, 70% begging, trying desperately to maintain her last shred of inspector dignity while saying through clenched teeth, Chinyi, have you no shame? No, ma'am. No, I do not. Morning sunlight, golden glow. I came downstairs feeling like $1,000,000. Last night's tutoring session was thorough. I'll say that much. 9-star female grandmasters have insane recovery abilities. Even after an entire night of intensive study, Sun Wanyu bounced back like nothing happened. Honestly, kind of annoying. Even more annoying, my system didn't trigger. Her 9-star constitution was apparently too fortified for my abilities to fully land. She'd actually given me this smug, mocking look about it. Like she was proud of being unconquerable. Irritating, but also motivating. The primordial holy body doesn't know the word impossible. It's just a matter of time. I strolled into the living room with a confident smile and immediately walked into an ambush. 3 women, 3 combat suits, 3 sets of crossed arms and crossed legs, sitting on the couch like a tribunal of angry supermodels. Lung Yu, pure black suit, radiating military court-martial energy. Shin Rushuang, deep crimson, oozing, I will end you, elegance. Su Chinga, lake blue, somehow making disappointed wife look adorable. All 3 staring at me with identical expressions, 30% hurt, 30% suspicion, 40% homicidal intent. Hey, everyone's here. Morning, wives, morning. Lung Yu's voice could have frosted windows. It's noon. You went to deliver a midnight snack and ask one question. That was 12 hours ago. Shin Rushuang didn't say anything. She just sat there with that knowing smirk, silently daring me to lie and make it entertaining. Chinga was pouting. Full baby face pout. Maximum guilt trip deployment. 3-court interrogation. Classic. I sat down, grabbed a spiritual apple from the table, took a big bite, and sighed with theatrical exhaustion. You girls just don't understand. Teacher's son is a world-class instructor. So rigorous. So thorough. Completely bare. Barely cutting any corners. 100% naked. Honest. Naked honesty in her teaching approach. I coughed. I got so absorbed in the ocean of knowledge that I lost track of time. 6 eyes rolled simultaneously. A perfect synchronized routine. Ocean of knowledge? More like ocean of something else. Lung Yu shot to her feet, pointing at me like a prosecutor delivering closing arguments. Chunyi, do you think we're stupid? You were gone for over 10 hours. You still smell like her shower gel. Her personal shower gel. And you're telling me this was innocent tutoring. She was building up to a magnificent rant. Could have gone on for minutes. Real championship-level scolding. I let her get about halfway through. Let me finish first. My smile stayed. But my eyes sharpened. Look, I love my wives. I spoil them rotten. But it had been too long since I'd reminded them who's in charge around here. If I let them interrogate me every time I come home late, this household will be ungovernable. Since you don't believe the tutoring was innocent, let me show you my results. No warning. No wind-up. Buzz. SSS rank spiritual power erupted from my forehead. 3 transparent chains materialized out of thin air, lightning fast, impossibly precise, and whipped toward Lung Yu before she could finish blinking. Click, click, click. 3 locks engaged. The specific details of what happened next have been redacted for content. Use your imagination. Dead. Silence. Shen Rushuang and Su Qingge had their mouths frozen open, eyes the size of saucers, staring at the thoroughly restrained Lung Yu, then at me standing there looking completely casual about it. That was the 9-fold spirit chain. Sun Wanyu's signature forbidden technique. Only 3 chains so far, and a little rough around the edges, but unmistakably the real thing. How? How is this possible? Shen Rushuang whispered. Their brains were melting. They knew exactly how difficult this technique was. Normal geniuses with personal instruction need weeks just to feel the first chain. Months to use 3. I did it in one night. And here was the part that was really breaking them. They were absolutely certain I'd spent last night doing ungodly things with Sun Wanyu. But this technique was legitimately mastered. You can't fake spiritual chains. So either I learned a forbidden SSS rank technique while also doing that, or I actually was studying the whole time. The doubt was delicious. I could see the guilt creeping across their faces. Wait, did we wrongly accuse him? Were we the dirty-minded ones? Is he actually the most dedicated student in martial arts history? Their certainty crumbled. Their righteous anger deflated. 3 faces cycled through confusion, shame, and existential crisis. For the record, I absolutely did what they think I did, and I learned the technique. Simultaneously, because I'm Chun Yi and I don't believe in single tasking. But they don't need to know that. Chun Yi, you, let me go. Lung Yu was squirming, voice cracking, teeth clenched, eyes starting to water. I believe you learned it. Okay, now release me. Whether she'd wrongly accused me or not, this was not an acceptable way to prove a point. I tapped my chin thoughtfully. But teacher's son said I need more practice. Chun, why? I did not let Lung Yu go. Instead, I walked up to her, lifted her chin with one finger, and gave her my coldest smile. Release you? Weren't you yelling pretty loud a minute ago? Now you want mercy? Too late. I bent down, scooped her up, threw her over my shoulder like a sack of rice, and started marching toward the bedroom. Discipline must be maintained. This was a teaching moment. Chunyi, what are you? Put me down. It's broad daylight. She was kicking her legs and screaming while I carried her past a completely frozen Shen Rushuang and Su Qingge, who exchanged a look that said, "This man is terrifying in every conceivable way." I was about to kick the bedroom door open and deliver a masterclass in household governance when, ring, ring, ring. Old Sheen's ringtone. Of course. I stopped, looked at the squirming tomato-colored woman on my shoulder, looked at my buzzing wrist terminal. TCH, every single time. This old man has the worst timing in recorded human history. I set Lung Yu down and gave her backside a farewell pat. Lucky you. Answered the phone with barely concealed frustration. What's the rush, old Sheen? Shen Wai. Get to headquarters now. Secretary Li called again. Snow Mountain is worse than expected. You and Inspector Sun must depart within 2 hours. I dropped the playful attitude. Snow Mountain. Right. National crisis. Duty calls. Got it. Also, his tone softened slightly. Your rewards have been approved. Highest tier. Come collect them before you leave. Rewards? Now we're talking. I released the spirit chains from Lung Yu with a thought. She nearly collapsed, grabbing the wall for support, glaring at me with eyes that couldn't decide between murder and something else entirely. All right, everyone stop overthinking. Get dressed. We're going to see old Sheen. I paused. And whatever rewards they give me, I'll pick stuff that works for you girls too. 3 pairs of eyes instantly sparkled like Christmas lights. All traces of jealousy, suspicion, and righteous fury evaporated. Gone. Replaced by the universal female expression of, ooh, presents. Humph. At least you have some conscience, Lung Yu grumbled while very obediently following me out. The slap then candy strategy remains undefeated. At headquarters, the lobby was packed. Officials, clan leaders, family representatives, everyone who was anyone in Shanjiang province had shown up. After yesterday's beast tide, my name was apparently the hottest topic in the entire region. The moment I walked in with 3 gorgeous women trailing behind me, the entire room went silent. Hundreds of eyes, reverent, worshipping, slightly terrified, locked onto me. Old Sheen stood on the central platform, looking 10 years younger from pure excitement. Sun Wanyu stood beside him, back in full Ice Queen Inspector mode, not even glancing my way. Professional. Attention, Old Sheen's voice boomed. Chen Yi, in yesterday's Beast Tide defense, slew Beast Emperors and single-handedly saved our provincial capital. This achievement is unprecedented in our history. By unanimous provincial approval and special authorization from the Southern Region Secretariat, we now present the highest tier rewards. A ceremony girl walked up with a golden tray. 5 medals gleaming with dark gold light. 5 S-rank contribution medals. The crowd nearly choked on their own spit. 5 S-rank? I've never even seen an A rank. Don't be jealous. Go kill a 9-star beast. Emperor yourself, and then complain. With 5 S-ranks, this guy's about to achieve orbit. I grabbed the medals casually, stepped off the platform, and immediately turned to Old Sheen. I want to trade all 5 for the newest batch of Beast King Essence. Old Sheen blinked. All 5. Beast King Essence was nice, but at my level it'd barely move the needle. Wait. Sun Wanyu's cool voice cut through. She stepped forward, and a faint trace of her shower gel reached my nose. Nobody noticed except me. Chen Yi, I don't know what magic trick you used to pull weapons from thin air, but everyone saw what happened yesterday. Your spears kept shattering. Your explosive power has far exceeded what standard alloy weapons can handle. She looked at me with those sharp eyes that had seen much more of me than anyone in this room knew. Going to Snow Mountain with substandard equipment is like bringing a stick to a war. Get proper 9-star gear first. My 3 wives immediately forgot they were mad at me and jumped in. She's right, honey. Rushuang was dead serious. Lung Yu and I just stabilized at 7-star. We don't urgently need Beast King Essence. Take care of yourself first. Lung Yu nodded. Your weapon is your second life. Snow Mountain isn't Linjiang. Chinga chimed in. I'm still a beginner. I can't even use top-tier resources yet. Everything should go to you, my wives and the woman I spent last night with, all standing in the same room, all unanimously agreeing I should gear up. Beautiful teamwork. Nobody suspects a thing. Old Sheen grinned. Tell you what, the Provincial Vault has a 9-star regulation equipment set called the Dragon War Suite. Includes a spear forged from 9-star meteoric iron. It's supposed to require an SSS rank medal to redeem, but nobody's ever claimed it because high-level grandmasters prefer custom gear. He waved his hand. Emergency circumstances. 3 S-rank medals. I'm authorizing the exchange. It's yours. 9-star meteoric iron spear. A weapon built to handle power output at MY level without turning into expensive confetti. Now that's a reward. 9-star regulation equipment. Meaning a weapon that won't explode in my hands every time I hit something harder than a marshmallow. Finally. Deal. I'll take the Dragon War Suite. But I waive the remaining 2 medals. These 2 S-ranks get converted into Beast King Essence. I promised my wives I'd bring home goodies, and Chunyi delivers. Sun Wanyu rolled her eyes. And not the professional, Ice Queen. I'm above this. kind of eye roll. This was a personal eye roll. The kind that said, "This man kept me up all night, and now he's out here playing devoted husband?" The audacity. It was barely a flicker. Half a second of unguarded irritation mixed with embarrassment. But 3 floors below her on the awareness scale, my wives caught it like hawks spotting a mouse. Lung Yu whispered, "That expression. Something's off." Shen Rushuang bit her lip. Why does Inspector Sun look at him with resentment and embarrassment? Chinga didn't say anything out loud, but her internal calculator was going beep, beep, beep. Confirmed. That teacher taught nothing from the textbook. The lobby atmosphere got deliciously awkward for about 3 seconds before Sun Wanyu snapped back to professional mode. "Chen Yi, Secretary Li is waiting. Get your gear. We leave immediately." The vault doors opened. Cold air rushed out. I walked in a regular guy and walked out looking like a video game protagonist who just unlocked the final armor set. The Dragon War Suite. Dark gold armor hugging every line of my body. Dragon scale patterns shifting across the chest plate. Energy rippling through the bracers and greaves. And the centerpiece, a 9-foot dragon gallbladder spear forged from 9-star meteoric iron. So sharp it was cutting the air just sitting in my hand. I looked like a war god who'd stepped out of a mythology painting and decided to stay. I walked straight to Chinga and pulled 2 vials of Beast King essence from my belt, glowing with this beautiful iridescent light, and pressed them into her hands. "Chinga, Lung Yu and Rushuang already got theirs before. You're the only one who hasn't. People say you should wait until 6-star for maximum effect, but nobody said you can't use it now." I brushed the hair from her forehead. "Take one the moment I leave. Train immediately. There'll be plenty more where that came from." Her eyes went wide. She'd assumed I'd keep these for myself or give them to the stronger wives. But I had my reasons, and they weren't entirely romantic. See, 2 days ago, Chinga trained hard enough to trigger a 10x feedback that gave me 5% gene development. If she drinks this essence and has another breakthrough while I'm in transit, I might hit 100% before the jet even lands at Snow Mountain. Strategic wife investment. Maximum ROI. But she didn't need to know the math. She just needed to see her husband choosing her. Honey, her big eyes were swimming with emotion. I'm a terrible person who sometimes does sweet things for selfish reasons that look like pure love. It's a gift. Lung Yu and Rushuang exchanged their signature synchronized eye roll, but didn't object. They'd already gotten their share before. And Chinga was the only one with awakened spiritual power. Her ceiling was potentially the highest of all 3. Plus, I'm 9-star. I'm the boss. What I say goes. Sun Wanyu was standing nearby, watching all of this with crossed arms. When she saw me give the precious essence to my weakest wife instead of hoarding it, something flickered in her eyes. This little punk actually knows how to manage his household. No jealousy, no infighting. The other 2 accepted it without complaint. His leadership skills are annoyingly impressive. "Let's go, Inspector Sunday." She looked up, and her gaze hit me in my new armor. The dark gold plates catching the light. The spear in my hand radiating cold death. That confident smirk on my face. And somewhere in her 9-star brain, this image merged with memories of last night, specifically the version of me that was considerably less armored, and her internal firewall crashed hard. Her face went from porcelain white to tomato red in about 0.3 seconds. Her heartbeat stuttered. The great Inspector Sun Wanyu, who'd faced 9-star beast emperors without flinching, was having a full system malfunction because a 20-year-old looked good in armor. "Oh, let's go," she spun around and power walked toward the jet like the floor was lava, moving fast enough to qualify as a light jog, desperately trying to outrun the blush spreading across her face. I watched her retreating figure, the slight panic in her steps, the way she wouldn't turn around, and looked down at my new spear. Then I looked back at my 3 wives, gave them a casual wave goodbye, and followed Sun Wanyu toward the Aurora. 2 hours in a private jet cabin with a woman who can't look at me without short-circuiting. This is going to be a very productive flight. Back at the 16th floor, Chinga was having her main character moment. I wasn't there, but I know my wife. She watched me walk onto that jet next to Sun Wanyu, and something clicked in her brain. Everyone around her was leveling up, Lung Yu and Rushuang at 7-star, Sun Wanyu at 9-star, and her husband casually redefining what's possible on a daily basis. She sat on her meditation cushion, clenched her little fists, and made a decision. Her phone lit up. blocked calls from her father. The Su family. She glanced at it, smiled the coldest smile a cute face can produce, and flipped the phone face down without reading a single word. When I reach 7-star Grandmaster, I'm going back, and I'm taking everything they owe me. With interest, that's my girl. She pulled out the Beast King essence, popped the cap, tilted her head back, and drank it in one shot. It hit her like swallowing liquid lava. Brutal, volcanic energy exploding through every cell in her body. She slammed her eyes shut and started cycling her cultivation technique at maximum speed, directing that tsunami of power at her bottleneck. Half an hour. That's all it took. Crack. The barrier that had been holding her back for days shattered like wet paper. Her chi skyrocketed. Her spiritual power surged. Gene development blew past 40%. 4-star warrior. Done. That's my wife. Fast learner. Must run in the family. I mean the family she married into. Meanwhile, yours truly was cruising at 10,000 meters in the Aurora jet, living the life. The cabin was spacious, luxurious, and contained one extremely beautiful woman trying very hard to pretend I didn't exist. Sun One Yu sat across from me with her legs crossed, one elegant thigh over the other, white combat suit doing absolutely nothing to hide the situation, looking like a magazine cover that could also kill you with her mind. I stared, openly, without shame. She felt it. Her composure cracked for just a moment, a tiny flash of self-consciousness, before she turned those cold eyes on me. Like what you see? Yes. No hesitation. No stuttering. Just facts. She turned to look out the window, but I could practically hear the rant happening inside her skull. This man. 5 minutes ago, he was down there being Mr. Perfect husband, tucking hair behind his little wife's ear, giving her expensive gifts, looking like the world's most devoted partner. And now, we're barely airborne, and he's already staring at my legs like a starving wolf. He didn't even wait for the seatbelt sign to turn off. Absolute. Dog. Man, she was mid-internal monologue when boom. A wave of power exploded out of me, so hard the entire military-grade jet shuddered. Ding. Suchinga successfully broke through her bottleneck. Major power increase. 10x critical feedback triggered. Congratulations, host. Gene development 1%. My bones started popping like popcorn. Every cell in my body was singing. I almost moaned out loud. Now, 1% doesn't sound like much. But at 95% base, we're playing a completely different game. Each percentage point at this level contains more energy than the entire jump from 0 to 40%. This single 1% was worth 100 times what it would have been back when I was a baby warrior. 96% now. For points from War God territory. Good girl, Chinga. Already 4-star. That Beast King essence worked perfectly. I was grinning internally like a lottery winner. Strategic wife investment. Paying dividends. Across from me, Sun Wan Yu had frozen mid-thought. She'd been calling me a dogman in her head. Then she watched me. Sitting completely still, not meditating, not cultivating, not even trying. Just staring at her legs for a few minutes, and then randomly having a massive power breakthrough. Her beautiful peach blossom eyes were so wide they looked like they might fall out of her skull. What? What just happened? Her brain was short-circuiting in real time. She was trying to process what she'd just witnessed. This man was staring at her thighs, and then had a cultivation breakthrough. From looking at her legs. No meditation pose. No breathing technique. No spiritual energy circulation. Just ogle, 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 boom, power up. What kind of cultivation method is this? I could see the exact moment her rational mind started screaming. Because what she'd just seen was impossible. Completely, utterly, violently impossible. People don't get stronger by checking out women's legs on airplanes. That's not how martial arts works. That's not how anything works. And yet, here I was, measurably, undeniably stronger than 30 seconds ago. Because I looked at her legs. Lady, if you think this is confusing, wait until I explain how I got to 9-star in the first place. Actually, no. Let's never explain that. Ever. To anyone. Sun Wan Yu was having an existential crisis across the aisle from me, and I was loving it. See, as a fellow SSS rank spiritual awakener, she understood cultivation difficulty better than almost anyone alive. She'd lived it. At 30 to 40% gene development? Sure, you level up by sneezing. But after 7-star, progression falls off a cliff. After 90%? Every fraction of a percent costs mountains of resources and years of meditation. She'd been completely stuck for an entire year. Zero progress. Not one decimal point. She went from 7-star to 9-star in 10 years, and people called her a once-in-a-century genius for it. I did 7-star to 9-star in a month. And now, sitting on an airplane, I'd just gotten stronger by looking at her legs. Her chest was heaving. Her entire martial arts worldview was being mugged in broad daylight. I know there's individual variation between SSS rank awakeners, she muttered, staring at me like I was a lab experiment gone horribly right. But the gap can't be this ridiculous. I smiled, unbuckled my seatbelt, stood up, walked over, and sat right next to her. Before she could process the invasion of personal space, my arm was already around her waist. Smooth. Practiced. Like I'd been doing it for years instead of approximately 24 hours. She flinched at the heat of my hand and instinctively glanced at the cockpit door. Just a thin metal partition between us and the pilots. "What do you think you're doing?" she hissed through clenched teeth, body going rigid like a startled cat. I pulled her closer. Zero gap between us now. Combat suits are very thin, as it turns out. Nothing. I just had a little breakthrough epiphany, and being the dedicated student I am, I wanted to immediately consult my teacher. That's all. Her body was betraying her brain. All those memories from last night came flooding back, and her resistance was melting faster than ice cream in a volcano. "Don't stop being so close." She pushed against my chest with her palms, but the force she used wouldn't have moved a sleeping kitten. Classic, push that's actually a pull technique. Very advanced martial arts. Just say what you want. I locked her in place, looked into those watering peach blossom eyes, and kissed her. MMPH. Her eyes went wide. She struggled for exactly 1 second. Then those arms climbed up around my neck like they had their own GPS coordinates programmed in. Several very productive minutes later, she was leaning against me, breathing hard, glaring up at me with eyes so dewy they could water a garden, internally screaming, "This dog man." No warning. No build-up. Just attack. I'll be honest. The thought of mile-high cultivation crossed my mind. The vibration of the engines, the confined space, the altitude. Very tempting. But then my remaining brain cells did some math. 2 9-star powerhouses going at full intensity in an enclosed metal tube. The chi shockwaves and physical impacts would literally tear this jet apart. We'd survive the crash, obviously. But National Inspector and Prodigy Camp Chief destroy military aircraft during intimate activities at 30,000 feet would become the most forwarded story in Chinese martial arts history. I'd never live it down. My grandchildren wouldn't live it down. So I swallowed the impulse, cleared my throat, and put on my most scholarly face. Ahem. Serious question. When gene development hits 100%, what's the next step? The romantic tension evaporated so fast, it left a vacuum. Sunwon Yu stared at me like I'd just asked her what year it was. Her expression clearly read, "You kissed me until I forgot my own name." For this? A basic theory question? Are you messing with me? But then she looked into my eyes and realized something horrifying. I was serious. Wait. She sucked in air through her teeth as the most absurd thought in her career crystallized. This man, who has 9-star peak cultivation, who is knocking on the war god's door, genuinely does not know basic advanced martial arts theory. I scratched my nose innocently. Don't look at me like that. I literally can't help it. My power grows so fast, I don't have time to study the textbook stuff. I was going to ask old Sheen, but then the beast tide happened. And now you're right here. Why would I go ask someone else? I gave her waist a little squeeze for emphasis. Her chest was heaving again, but this time from pure, undiluted rage at the unfairness of the universe. Levels up too fast to learn theory? Too fast. Is that a complaint? Normal people spend 10 years in closed cultivation memorizing every theory paper ever written, just hoping for one tiny breakthrough that never comes. And this dogman rockets up like he's on an elevator, then has the audacity to say, "Sorry, I was too busy getting stronger to read the manual." Comparing lives with this man should be classified as a health hazard. Before Sunwon Yu could finish mentally cursing the universe for making me exist, I got serious. Teacher's son, when gene development hits 100%, is that the cap? Do you just automatically become a war god? The academic question snapped her out of her spiral. She took a deep breath, forced her body to stop doing whatever it was doing, and switched into professor mode. You think 100% is the maximum? You really think the human body is that limited? She gave me this look, half condescending, half genuinely enjoying being smarter than me for once. Gene development is just a dumbed-down term for the masses. At our level, what it actually measures is your cell's energy absorption efficiency. I raised an eyebrow. Energy absorption efficiency? Exactly. Normal humans are under 10%. Warriors awaken, efficiency climbs. When you hit 100%, it doesn't mean your body is maxed out. It means your cellular absorption has reached the critical threshold this planet can contain. 100% isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun. It means you've earned the right to break the planetary shackle. Planetary shackle? All life is born on a planet and bound by its magnetic field, gravity, and natural laws. Even 9-star peak warriors are still just borrowing power within Earth's rules. The planet's magnetism naturally suppresses every living thing. That's the shackle. But at 100% efficiency, your body undergoes a qualitative transformation. She poked my chest with one finger to emphasize the point, then immediately turned bright red and went weak because apparently she'd forgotten that touching me triggers some kind of involuntary response in her now. I tightened my arm around her. She got dizzy. Let go. She pushed weakly, glared at me, and kept lecturing because professionalism dies hard. Becoming a war god means forcibly melting that planetary shackle. Your internal chi blood magnetic field fights against, assimilates, and eventually overwrites the planet's own magnetic field. At 100% absorption, shackle broken, blood magnetic field formed. That's a first-order war god. When your cells mutate further and absorption hits 200%, your life field transforms completely, second-order war god. And so on. My brain lit up like a Christmas tree. So 100% isn't the ceiling, it's the floor. Gene development can go to 200%, 300%, beyond. What actually changes when you hit first order? I asked, barely containing my excitement. Sun Wanyu found her superior smirk again. Finally, something she knew that I didn't. 9-star chi, no matter how dense, is still liquid. Like water. Powerful, but it runs out eventually. But when you break 100% and enter first-order war god, her voice dropped to a near whisper. That liquid chi gets compressed to the absolute limit and undergoes a phase change, solidifying into chi blood crystal cores. Every single cell becomes a miniature solid-state reactor. Your body stops being flesh and blood and becomes something closer to a nuclear power plant in human form. The life field generated by solid-state chi is strong enough to bend physical laws. You can fly by ignoring gravity. You can project a war god domain around yourself where you are the absolute ruler of that pocket of reality. She sat back, looking satisfied, clearly expecting me to be awed into respectful silence by the majesty of war god territory. Instead, she saw my eyes blazing with the intensity of a starving wolf who just spotted an all-you-can-eat buffet. Solid chi. War god domain. I licked my lips. My hand squeezed her waist involuntarily. Then ding. Su Chinga detected training diligently. Cultivation advancing. 10x feedback triggered. Gene development 1%. Current gene development 97%. Boom. My chi ignited like a star-going supernova. The entire jet rattled. My blood was roaring through my body like a river that just discovered it could become an ocean. 97%. 3% from War God. Chinga, you absolute queen. My greatest investment. My golden goose. My walking power-up generator. At this rate, 100% wasn't some distant dream. It was practically tomorrow's breakfast. And if my system keeps working the way it does, 200%, 500%, 1000%, solid-state chi outputting enough power to tear apart mechasuits? Enough magnetic field to crack a planet? That's the dream. That's real romance right there. While I was mentally planning my future as a celestial being, the woman trapped in my arms was having a very different experience. My back-to-back breakthroughs were flooding the cabin with raw 9-star peak chi, and, more critically, an increasingly dense wave of masculine hormones amplified by approaching war god level vitality. It was hitting Sun Wanyu's senses like a tsunami of pure biological. You cannot resist this. The great inspector, the ice queen who'd stared down beast emperors without blinking, went completely limp. Her brain made a buzzing sound and shut down. She collapsed against my chest like a silk ribbon dropping onto a rock. I looked down. Her face was the color of a sunset. Those authoritative eyes had gone fully liquid, misty, unfocused, with pink at the corners. She looked less like a national inspector and more like she'd been personally designed by whatever deity handles maximum temptation. A perfectly ripe peach. Plus my blood was running hotter than magma from the consecutive breakthroughs. Rational thought. Never heard of her. To hell with restraint. She shuddered violently. Some final fragment of dignity made her fists beat uselessly against my shoulders. You're insane. Her voice was a trembling, breathless whisper scream, completely lacking any conviction whatsoever. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely certifiably insane. And 97% of the way to godhood. Let's see if we can make it 98 before we land. Sun Wanyu's last wall of resistance crumbled like a sandcastle in a tsunami. Her eyes fluttered shut. Her fists stopped their symbolic protest against my shoulders and instead slid up my chest, over my muscles, and locked around my neck. She pulled herself closer. The woman who was going to hunt me was now clinging to me like I was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Then, and this is the part that killed me, her other hand reached to the side and fumbled for something on the armrest. Click. She hit the privacy mode button. This woman knew this jet's layout so well she could find a secret button with her eyes closed while being kissed senseless at 30,000 feet. That's years of muscle memory. Inspector-grade spatial awareness applied to the most critical mission of the day. Every window went pitch black. Soundproofing panels dropped. The cabin sealed itself into an absolute vault. No light in, no sound out, no chi leakage, no spiritual energy detection. Complete stealth mode. The entire back of the jet became our own private dimension. I paused and looked down at her. Eyes squeezed shut, chest heaving, face so red it was practically glowing in the dark cabin. Haha, shut up. She glared at me with eyes that had zero authority left in them. Pure embarrassment. Pure want. 100%, angry kitten pretending to be a tiger. I only did that so you don't destroy the aircraft, you maniac. Sure. That's why. For aviation safety purposes. What happened next involved a lot of dotted lines, and I respect the editorial decision. Let's just say that when things eventually calmed down, Sun Wanyu was lying there staring at me with the expression of a woman who'd just survived a natural disaster and wasn't entirely sure if she wanted it to stop. Then, beep 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 her wrist terminal. Secretary Lee's face popped up on screen. Inspector Sun, have you arrived? The Snow Mountain Outpost landing pad is ready. Coordinates sent. And just like that, like flipping a light switch, the flushed, breathless, thoroughly conquered woman transformed back into the Ice Queen of the National Martial Arts Association. Received. Landing now cold. Professional. Not a single tremor in her voice. Olympic-level acting. She hung up, didn't even glance at me, walked to the cabin door, and ripped it open. Arctic wind at -40 degrees screamed into the cabin like winter's personal vendetta. She jumped. No hesitation. Just yeeted herself out of a jet into the frozen sky, transforming into a white streak plummeting toward the clouds below. She wasn't making a dramatic entrance. She was fleeing, running away from me to sort out the absolute chaos happening inside her body and brain. I strolled to the open door, looked down at the infinite white cloud sea below, and spotted her figure getting smaller at terminal velocity. Fast runner. I grinned, stomped the floor hard enough to dent military-grade alloy, and launched myself after her like a dark gold cannonball. Snow Mountain Outpost. Landing platform. Surrounded by frozen wasteland and hundreds of armed warriors standing guard in the blizzard. Secretary Lee stood at the platform edge with a delegation of association officials, all craning their necks at the sky. There, the clouds split. Two blazing streaks tore through them, one white, one dark gold, trailing sonic booms and pressure waves that made the air itself scream. Boom, boom. Two impacts, almost simultaneous. The reinforced alloy platform shook violently. Shockwaves of snow and ice blasted outward in every direction. Low-rank warriors stumbled backward, some forgetting how to breathe for a moment. The snow settled. Sun Wanyu stood there in pristine white, not a speck on her, surrounded by an invisible field of spiritual energy. Ice goddess incarnate. Zero evidence of anything that had occurred in the last several hours. And next to her me, Dark gold dragon war armor gleaming, dragon gallbladder spear in hand, nearly war god level chi burning around my body like visible flames. Two figures. One frozen mountaintop. The entire welcoming party staring at us like they'd just witnessed gods descending from heaven. Nobody had any idea that 5 minutes ago, the ice goddess had been pressing the privacy button on a jet while the war god was doing things that would get us both court-martialed if anyone ever found out. Professionalism, ladies and gentlemen. We are professionals. Secretary Lee Speed walked over with his poker face cracked into the most aggressively friendly smile I've ever seen a bureaucrat produce. Inspector Sun, thank you for coming. And this must be Mr. Chun Yi, slayer of 9-star beast emperors. A true hero of the younger generation. The southern region is blessed to have such talent. I dialed my chi back and gave him a polite smile. Not really my style to engage with government-grade flattery. Skip the pleasantries. Command center. Now, Sun Wan Yu cut through the small talk like a blade through butter. All business. Zero trace of the woman who'd been pressing privacy buttons on jets an hour ago. We walked through the outpost. The vibe was grim. Battle-hardened warriors lined both sides of the path, bloodstains still fresh on their gear, frost on their eyebrows, death in their eyes. When they saw Sun Wan Yu, they snapped to attention with religious fervor. Inspector, ma'am, full military salute. She was their legend, their anchor. Then their eyes slid to me, the random young guy in fancy armor walking beside her, even slightly ahead of her, and their brains started buffering. Who's the kid? Why is Li Heng being so respectful to him? Another rich kid from the capital? I let them wonder. Didn't change my pace. Didn't change my face. The command center door slid open, and I scanned the room in half a second. 4 high-level warriors waiting for us. And something about this setup felt off. Main seat. An old man with white hair, hands resting on an alloy saber. 9-star Grandmaster. Vice Chairman of the Capital Martial Arts Association, Elder Zhao. Radiating that classic, I've been important longer than you've been alive, energy. Left side. Another 9-star, eyes closed, meditating. Right side. An 8-star, sitting ramrod straight. And then, the one that caught my eye immediately, a young man in the corner. 7-star, with spiritual power fluctuations. But his body language was all wrong. While everyone else was tense and military, this guy was lounging like he was waiting for coffee, lazily spinning a jade thumb ring. Didn't even properly look up when Sun Wan Yu and I walked in. Interesting. Secretary Lee showed us a display case in the center. Inside was a glowing white snow lotus, pulsing with holy light. Long story short, the masters who retreated from the Forbidden Zone brought this out. A white gold snow lotus. The anomaly inside the restricted area produced it. We believe the deeper zones may contain even more extraordinary treasures. Command needs you to enter the restricted zone immediately and investigate. I nodded pleasantly. Understood. Happy to follow the organization's arrangements. Everyone nodded approvingly. Good soldier. Obedient. Then I continued, still smiling. Since this forbidden zone is so dangerous, I assume all 4 of you seniors will be joining us inside, right? Li Heng's face went through about 6 colors simultaneously. Embarrassment, guilt, discomfort, the full spectrum. He couldn't meet my eyes. Actually, Command has decided that you and Inspector Sun will enter as the advance team. Alone. Oh, my smile didn't waver. Not 1 millimeter. Just us 2? Then these 4 seniors must have just come back from heavy fighting inside and need recovery time, right? I nodded with maximum understanding. Totally reasonable. In that case, could the seniors brief us on what's actually in there? So we can prepare. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. And not from the weather. Elder Zhao's face went dark as a thundercloud. He didn't bother answering my question, didn't bother explaining. In his mind, a junior was questioning his authority, and that simply doesn't happen. You're told to go in, you go in. His cold, dead eyes settled on me like I was an ant that had learned to speak. Where do you get off asking so many questions? Are you refusing orders? Defying the organization? Classic power move. Skip the logic, skip the explanation, just slam a disobedience accusation on my head and watch me buckle. Then, without even waiting for my response, he dropped his 9-star pressure on me like a 10-ton hammer. Full veteran Grandmaster weight, aimed exclusively at me, designed to make my knees hit the floor and remind me of my place. The thing about these old-timers is, they're so used to juniors folding under their pressure that they forget to check who they're pressing. My chi shifted. Barely a ripple. Just let my 97% gene development do its thing. Buzz. His pressure wave hit me and bounced. Not deflected gently. Rejected. Shoved back 3 feet like it had run into a concrete wall. Elder Zhao's body actually swayed. His knuckles went wide around his saber handle. And those cloudy, dismissive old eyes? They shrank to pinpoints. I could literally watch his worldview recalibrating in real time. He'd expected a 7-star baby grandmaster. The file said 7-star, after all. A 7-star would be on the floor gasping right now. Instead, the force that came back at him was deep, massive, utterly immovable, like pushing against a mountain that had been there since before time began. This is not 7-star. This is 9-star. With chi density that rivals mine. Yeah, old man. Surprise. I'm not the errand boy you thought they sent you. I'm the guy who killed 2 beast emperors 3 days ago and got stronger on the flight over. And I don't kneel. So Elder Zhao tried to crush me with his pressure and failed. What does his buddy do? Elder Wang opens his eyes and also dumps his 9-star pressure on me. 2 veteran grandmasters combining forces to flatten one 7-star junior. Real brave, guys. 2-on-1 against a kid. Very heroic. But before I even had to think about it, Sun Wanyu stepped up. Without a word, without a glance, her SSS rank spiritual power merged with my chi and we shoved back. Together. Bang. 2 old guard 9-star grandmasters got their combined pressure wave sent back like a returned package. Both of them actually staggered in their seats. 2-on-2, and we won. Casually. In the corner, the young guy, some Zhao family heir, 7-star spiritual master, finally sat up straight and stopped playing with his fancy jade ring. For 1 microsecond, I saw surprise in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by that special brand of arrogance that only old money aristocrats can produce. I acknowledge you're interesting, but you're still dirt beneath my designer boots. Look. In his mind, I was still just a talented commoner, a shinier than usual piece of expendable equipment. No family backing, no political connections, no war god grandfather to make phone calls. Just a hick who got lucky with SSS rank abilities and didn't know his place. He didn't even bother speaking. Just sat there radiating condescension like it was a cologne. I filed him under future problems and moved on. Poor Secretary Li was drowning in his own sweat in the corner. From his perspective, I was a 7-star maniac who'd just trash-talked 2 9-star elders and only survived because Sun Wanyu's spiritual power carried me. He had no idea I was doing 90% of the heavy lifting in that exchange. He thought Sun Wanyu had saved my reckless behind. Meanwhile, Elder Zhao was having a very different internal crisis. His brain was doing conspiracy math at light speed. See, here's what happened from his side. He'd arrived from the capital with his crew, seized control of this outpost from Li Hong, and had been using Southern Region Grandmasters as disposable scouts, sending them into the Forbidden Zone wave after wave. Li Hong had been swallowing his anger quietly for days. And now suddenly, Li Heng's 7-star recruit shows up and turns out to have 9-star level power that can match his own. Elder Zhao's paranoia kicked into overdrive. That snake Li Hong lied about this kid's power level. He deliberately hid a 9-star combatant in a 7-star file. He's been playing dumb this whole time, waiting for the right moment to deploy this weapon against us. Is this a coup? Is the Southern Region trying to overthrow our command? The old man was building an entire conspiracy theory while I was just standing there asking reasonable questions about a suicide mission. Classic bureaucratic brain. Can't imagine someone just being honest, so every action becomes a chess move. Then the 8-star guy, Elder Zhou, who'd completely missed the invisible high-dimensional chi battle that just happened because his level was too low to perceive it, decided to be helpful. He slammed the table and pointed at me. Are you defying orders? Is this mutiny? I didn't even look at him. Not worth the calories it takes to move my eyeballs. Sun Wanyu handled it. She stepped forward with those ice-cold eyes and delivered the most surgical verbal destruction I've ever witnessed. Secretary Li. This is the Southern Region's defense perimeter. The Southern Region's Snow Mountain restricted zone. Did the Southern Region Elder Council, before losing contact, issue any formal directive transferring command authority to the Capital Martial Arts Association? Pause. Let it sink in. Furthermore, Even if you are here as capital reinforcements, do you possess a single written order from capital headquarters authorizing you to forcibly conscript or exercise command? Over, a Southern Region Inspector and Prodigy Camp Chief. Translation: show me the paperwork or shut your mouths. She'd just ripped off their entire legal justification like peeling a Band-Aid off a hairy arm. They had no formal authority here. They'd been ruling by intimidation, and everyone had been too scared to call them on it. Li Heng looked like he was about to have a heart attack. He'd never intended to start a power struggle. He was genuinely just doing his job, passing along orders. But now Elder Zhao was staring at him like he was a traitor, and Sun Wanyu had just dropped a legal bomb that made it look like this was all a coordinated uprising. The poor man was thinking, the Zhao family has an actual war god backing them. I don't care how talented Chun Yi is. You don't pick fights with people who have war gods. He threw himself between both sides like a human speed bump. Everyone please. There are warriors dying in the Forbidden Zone right now. Brothers whose fates are unknown. Can we please focus on the bigger picture? The Universal Government employee cried. Let's not fight. Let's just be miserable together. I stood there watching this political circus unfold, arms crossed, face neutral, thinking. I asked one reasonable question and accidentally triggered a constitutional crisis. Welcome to military politics. We're asking, hey, shouldn't the seniors come too, is apparently an act of treason. For the bigger picture? Of course. I nodded at Li Heng so agreeably that everyone in the room relaxed. Even Elder Zhao's murder face softened a fraction. They thought I'd caved. They thought the little country bumpkin finally understood his place. Then I pointed at the security camera on the ceiling. Since we're all about the bigger picture, naturally we should all go in together. For capital elders with godlike power leading the charge alongside us. That's what bigger picture means, right? The Capital Martial Arts Association demonstrating their commitment to unity by personally entering the danger zone. Elder Zhao's hand went through his chair's armrest like it was made of crackers. You insolent, yeah? I just used their own, bigger picture, argument as a boomerang and threw it right back at their faces. On camera. With witnesses. Li Heng grabbed my arm like a drowning man grabbing driftwood and physically dragged me toward the exit. Come outside. Right now? I'll explain everything. His face was the color of someone watching his career die in real time. Sun Wanyu glanced at the four capital people with a look that could freeze a volcano, fixed her hair, and walked out after us without a word. Queen behavior. The door slammed shut. Inside, I'm told the mood was unpleasant. Elder Wang sipped his tea with a sneer. Small-town trash. Thinks a little talent means he can bark at us. The Zhao family heir was still spinning his jade ring, smirking like he was watching a sitcom. Country bumpkin with a country bumpkin's brain. Once Li Heng tells him who stands behind our family, he'll come crawling back on all fours like the obedient little scout dog he is. In their world, this was a done deal. No grandmaster alive would defy a family backed by a war god. The laws of power are absolute. The strong rule. The weak obey. And once I learn my lesson, they'd take their sweet time making me pay for the disrespect. How cute. Out in the freezing corridor, Li Heng was having a full nervous breakdown. Chen Yi, I'm begging you. Act however you want in Linjiang City, but here, with these people, you must be careful. He was whispering so hard, he was practically vibrating. They're not ordinary capital officers. They're Zhao family. That young man is their core bloodline heir. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, completely unbothered. So, does being a Zhao mean they get to use our southern region warriors as cannon fodder? Li Heng looked like he was about to swallow his own tongue. He grabbed my collar, pulled me close, and whispered so quietly I almost needed my spiritual perception to hear it. The Zhao family can't be provoked. Because they have a living, breathing war god backing them. War god. I raised one eyebrow. Nodded calmly. Honestly, I'd already guessed. Nobody rolls into another region's command center, seizes control, and sends local grandmasters into a meat grinder without serious backing. 2 9-star elders aren't enough for that kind of tyranny. You need something bigger behind them. A war god qualifies. So what? So what? Li Heng nearly choked on his own spit. It's a war god. You understand? A being that transcends mortality. If you anger the Zhao family, no amount of talent will save you. This is me trying to help you, Secretary Li. I cut him off, looked him dead in the eyes. If you really want to help everyone, the real bigger picture, then everyone goes into the forbidden zone together. Even if the Zhao family has a war god behind them, I guarantee that war god never told his juniors go ahead and force other people to die while you drink tea in the back. Li Heng couldn't say a single word. He knew I was right. But being right doesn't matter when the people you're right about can destroy your entire career and bloodline with a phone call. He sighed from the depths of his soul. In his mind, I was a noble, brave, incredibly stupid young man who was about to get crushed by a machine I didn't understand. Secretary Lee, I straightened up. I need a copy of the meeting records from inside. The full recording. Now, his eyes went so wide I thought they'd pop out and roll down the hallway. You're insane. Asking for meeting records is the nuclear option. It means I'm building a paper trail. It means I'm preparing evidence. It means I'm not just pushing back. I'm preparing to take this all the way up the chain and put these people on blast. In Li Heng's decades of bureaucratic warfare, he'd seen every flavor of political maneuvering. The subtle, the cunning, the devious. He had never seen someone just walk up to a power structure backed by a war god and say, "Give me the receipts. I'm filing a complaint." Sun Wanyu was standing next to me with her mouth slightly open. Even SHE was stunned. She'd seen a lot of bold men. But watching a 20-year-old demand evidence recordings to use against a war god's family on his first day at the front was a new experience. She thought, this man is either the bravest person I've ever met or the craziest. Both. The answer is both. But here's what none of them understood. I wasn't being reckless. I wasn't hot-blooded. I was doing the math. The Southern Region Elder Council, gone. Missing in the Forbidden Zone. Every local grandmaster who answered the call, gone. Sent in as expendable scouts by these 4 tea-sipping parasites. And now they wanted to send me and Sun Wanyu in as the next round of disposable explorers while they sat here warming their chairs. When someone gives you zero path to survival, you don't negotiate politely. You flip the table. No, there are no records. Nothing. Li Heng's head was shaking so fast it could have generated electricity. He'd made his decision. This crazy kid was radioactive, and he needed to get as far away as possible before the fallout hit. He spun on his heel to flee back to the command center and grovel before the Zhao family. He made it half a step. Clamp. My hand landed on his shoulder like a steel vise. Not hard enough to hurt. Just hard enough to communicate that leaving was no longer on his menu of options. No rush, Secretary Lee. My voice was calm. His face said he was hearing the devil whisper sweet nothings. I let go, pulled out my phone, and held it up in front of his face. I'll be direct. From the moment I walked through that command center door, this phone has been recording Ultra HD video. Every second, every word, every pressure wave those old men threw at me. It's all here. Li Heng's pupils shrank to dots. I could actually see the blood drain from his face, like watching a bathtub empty. Now, if you won't give me the official meeting records, I let the smile drop completely. Full Arctic mode. I'm turning around right now, walking out, flying back to Linjiang City, and uploading this entire video to every platform on the internet. Let the whole country watch how a war god's family sits in a heated command center drinking tea while forcing Southern Region warriors into a death zone. Let every martial artist in China see how their brothers are being used as disposable meat shields by capital aristocrats. I stepped forward. Just one step. But at 97% gene development, even my passive aura was enough to make a non-combatant feel like gravity had tripled. And you, Secretary Lee, will be in that video too. On camera. Bowing and scraping to the people feeding your comrades into a grinder. I locked eyes with him. So go ahead. Call my bluff. See if I dare. Now here's why this worked. In normal politics, this would be suicide. Threatening a war god's family. Forcing a career bureaucrat to pick sides? Insane. Every rational calculation says, side with the established power, let the talented kid learn his lesson, survive another day. But Li Heng's rational calculator was running into a problem. I wasn't some promising junior who could be quietly suppressed later. I was a 9-star peak, near-war god combatant who had single-handedly killed 2 beast emperors on live television 3 days ago. If I wanted to leave, those 2 old men inside literally could not stop me. We'd just proven that. And if I did upload that video, with my reputation, the hero of Linjiang, the beast emperor slayer, the story wouldn't be, crazy kid makes accusations. It would be, National hero exposes capital elites sacrificing frontline warriors. The southern region has hundreds of millions of people. Every warrior with a friend or family member sent into Snow Mountain would riot. The Zhao family might survive the scandal. War god backing does that. But Li Heng? The southern region's own secretary who stood by and let it happen? He'd be the sacrificial lamb, fed to the public to calm the rage. Career over. Life over. Done. Li Heng was shaking, sweating in sub-zero weather. His entire future balanced on the next 3 seconds. Sun Wanyu was standing next to me having her own crisis. Her eyes were the size of teacups. He insane. In her plan, the smart move was to leave gracefully, fly back to the capital, make some calls, pull some strings, figure out what the Zhao family was really after, and deal with this through proper channels over weeks or months. My plan was to kick the door down, record everything, threaten nuclear escalation, and force a resolution in the next 5 minutes. Her dictionary had strategic patience. Mine had table flip. She was about to grab my arm and talk me down when I turned to look at her. And I gave her the look, not the flirty look, not the I'm about to do something crazy grin. Just calm, steady. A pair of eyes that said 2 words, trust me. Her heart, which had been trying to escape through her throat, suddenly settled, like someone had pressed a mute button on her panic. She looked at my face, the jaw, the confidence, that absolute unshakable certainty, and her rational objections just dissolved. She bit her lip. How did I end up on this maniac's ship? Because that's what this was. She'd boarded the SS Chunyi, and there was no getting off. Back in the command center, she'd merged her spiritual power with mine to push back against 2 9-star elders. In the Zhao family's eyes, she and I were already a package deal. A unit. Co-conspirators. If she abandoned me now, she wouldn't be the neutral inspector who stayed out of it. She'd be the traitor who helped the rebel and then tried to run. The Zhao family would crush her just as hard. So there was really only one option. Fine. I got on your crazy boat. Might as well ride it to the end. She looked at me with an expression that mixed, I'm going to die because of you, with, but somehow I don't mind, and set her jaw. All in. 2 against a war god's family. Armed with a phone video and absolutely zero self-preservation instinct. Let's see who blinks first. The hallway was silent enough to hear snowflakes land. Li Heng's brain was running at maximum RPM, desperately searching for an escape route. I could literally see the thought form behind his eyes. What if I just grabbed the phone? Then his eyes met mine, and that thought died faster than a beast in my blast radius. Grab? With what? This man has been stuck at 6-star peak for 20 years. I just bounced 2 9-star grandmasters combined pressure like it was a beach ball. He'd have better odds arm wrestling a hurricane. I watched him process the math. The age math. The power math. This 20-year-old psychopath has absolutely nothing to lose, and the firepower to back it up. Math. He tried one more time. Chenyi, let's not escalate. Then Sun Wanyu stepped forward and dropped the kill shot. Secretary Li, stop lying to yourself. We can't go back. And neither can you. She stared at him with those ice-cold eyes. What happened in that room? Do you think those people are blind? You think you can walk back in there, fall on your knees, and they'll just forget? In their minds, you've been MY ally and Chun Ye's ally from the moment we pushed back. You're already tagged. Marked. Done. Li Heng shuddered like someone had dumped ice water down his spine. She was right. The horrible, beautiful, merciless truth. Powerful families don't need proof to destroy someone. They just need suspicion. And Li Heng was drenched in suspicion. The moment I'd challenged those elders and he hadn't immediately tackled me to the ground in apology, the Zhao family had mentally filed him under enemy. Besides, Sun Wanyu continued, twisting the knife. What they've been doing is monstrous. Seizing command. Sending Southern Region warriors to die like disposable pawns. You're the Southern Region's secretary. Giving Chun Yi this recording isn't betrayal. It's doing the right thing. Doing the right thing. Li Heng muttered, chewing on the words like they were made of glass. And I watched it happen. The exact moment a lifetime bureaucrat's survival instinct flipped from appease the powerful to burn it all down. His eyes changed. The fear didn't disappear. It transformed. Became something sharper. More dangerous. The look of a cornered animal that's decided to bite. If we just leak the video, the Zhao family could suppress it with their war god backing. And then we're dead anyway. His voice was getting faster. Harder. If we've already burned this bridge, we can't leave them breathing room. The best move is to force all 4 of them into the forbidden zone with us. Once they're inside, where it's 9 deaths, 1 life, what happens to them is between them and fate. The Zhao family can't control what goes on in there. I blinked. Did Secretary Li Hong, the man who was begging me to shut up 5 minutes ago, just suggest we drag 4 capital elites into a death zone and let nature take its course? Fine. He looked up at me with bloodshot eyes, veins popping in his temples, looking like a man who'd just ripped off a mask he'd been wearing for 30 years. I'll send it to you right now. His fingers flew across his classified terminal. Maximum encryption files. Official meeting records. Everything. Ding. Received. But he wasn't done. Oh no. Li Hong was fully off the leash now. You have the evidence, but don't think that's enough. The Zhao family won't forgive us just because we have leverage. There's 0 chance of reconciliation now. He leaned in close, voice razor sharp. Leaking the video is the backup plan. The real play is getting those 4 into the forbidden zone today. You 2 made big speeches in there about everyone going together. Now make it happen. Force them in. I don't care how. I squinted at him. I'll be honest, even I was a little surprised. 5 minutes ago this man was a trembling career bureaucrat begging me to be quiet. Now he'd transformed into a cold-blooded strategist actively plotting to march his political enemies into a supernatural death trap. The speed of that heel turn gave me whiplash. But then I thought about it and, yeah, makes sense. You don't survive decades in high-level government politics by being soft. These people have warm smile, cold knife as their factory default setting. They grovel when it's smart to grovel. But the second they decide to switch sides, no hesitation, no half measures, total commitment to the new direction. Li Hong hadn't just joined my team. He'd just handed me his loyalty receipt and was already planning the offensive. Welcome aboard, Secretary Li. Glad to have a proper schemer on the crew. Sun Won nodded approvingly. Going home to file complaints is what weak people do. We've already crossed the line. No overnight grudges. She looked at the command center doors. Those 4 are coming into the forbidden zone with us. Whether they agree or not. I smiled. Exactly. We'll just have to convince them that it's the right thing to do. For the bigger picture. You know, serving the organization. And if they refuse, they won't have that option. Sun Won stared at me, swallowed, and I saw that little spark in her eyes again. The one that meant she was simultaneously terrified of my decision-making and inexplicably attracted to it. This dogman truly fears nothing in heaven or earth. That's right, Teacher Sunday. Now let's go back inside and give those capital aristocrats a lesson in organizational compliance. With extreme prejudice.